Chapter 563. Li Zongjio did not use any deliberate means to subdue Wang Ding and the others. After all, Li Zongjio did not care about these things. Whether Wang Ding was one more person, or one less person, did not make much of a difference to Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio wanted to give it a try. If he subdued this Wang Ding, could it be that he was expecting these people to come and save him when he was in danger? When the tree topples, the monkeys scatter. If one wanted to become truly powerful, one had to constantly improve their own strength. Only then could one ensure that no one would be able to touch them. Wang Ding and the others left immediately. Today was indeed a thrilling day. To Wang Ding and the others, they were first beaten up by a group of people who came out of nowhere and were heavily injured. Then, a random group of people who came out of nowhere actually managed to defeat the entire Tusk battalion. This meant that they really needed to cultivate and improve their strength. If they were to do something so shameful in the future, they might as well be beaten to death outside. Li Zongjio returned to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor after the matters outside were more or less settled. 3 days were enough for Li Zongjio to reach the 13th level of the Genius Tower. Things were different now. Li Zongjio's strength was already at the Yuan Monarch realm. His mind power was also at the Yuan Monarch realm. If one had to point out, it would be that his physical strength was slightly weaker. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had only consumed a lot of elixir pills and had not deliberately cultivated. Thus, he had directly raised his physical strength to the Yuan Monarch realm. This was a very terrifying concept. This also meant that Li Zongjio could basically ignore many threats. If someone at the Yuan Monarch realm came to launch a sneak attack, Li Zongjio would not even need to make a move. Just the rebound force alone would be enough to kill the other party. Sometimes one might not even be able to withstand an all-out attack. In fact, there were many unusual movements in the Sacred Flame Royal City today. For example, in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. The matter did not end after Li Zongjio left. Li Zongjio was utterly tyrannical. The 9th prince was actually being tyrannical in front of the majestic emperor. This Li Zongjio was truly lawless. Was he really not afraid of the prince's revenge? When Li Zongjio left, Bing Shuang and Bing Shui quickly helped the 9th prince up. "Get out of my way, you bunch of trash." The 9th prince spat out blood from the corner of his mouth. In front of these women, he had suffered a huge loss. He had lost all his face. How could he still have the face to look at these people? This caused the 9th prince to feel extremely displeased. He even wondered if he should kill all these people to protect his reputation. "Young Master Xian Ming, don't be impatient. That Li Zongjio is just a clown. It won't be long before he turns into ashes." Just as the 9th prince was sitting there fuming, a woman in a purple robe walked down from the pavilion. The woman was wearing a veil, which made her look light and ethereal. It was as if he was a riddle placed in front of them, making it impossible for them to see through him and figure him out. The woman in purple waved her hand gently. Bing Shuang and Bing Shui bowed and left. Madame Fian also bowed and left. "Palace Master Yun Qi, you promised me that you would help me become the crown prince of the Xingyan dynasty. Now among the many princes, my power has not increased. If you can't help me, then it's useless for me to keep you alive. I believe that the people from the Judgment Hall will be very interested in your whereabouts." The 9th prince coughed softly and looked at the woman in front of him with a pair of gloomy eyes. "This is 10,000 flower dew. It can heal wounds and stop bleeding. It's effective in seconds." Palace Master Yun Qi placed an extremely exquisite bottle of 10,000 flower dew on the table. Even though the bottle looked like it was used to heal wounds, the 9th prince opened the bottle and drank a big mouthful of the 10,000 flower dew. The power of the 10,000 flower dew merged into the 9th prince's body little by little. It brought great relief to the 9th prince's injuries. The places that were originally in extreme pain recovered little by little. Even the color on his face was quickly recovering. "This thing is not bad." Even the 9th prince, who was angry, praised the effect of the 10,000 flower dew. The fact that it had such a good effect really made the 9th prince raise his eyebrows. For ordinary people, 1 drop can cure all the pain and illness. If one takes more than 10 drops, it can even prolong one's life by a year. There are 600 drops in this bottle. It's a kind of compensation for the grievances that you have suffered. It's really regrettable that we didn't act in time. Palace Master Yun Qi said. The spring flower and autumn moon in was actually just a cover. The reason why the ninth prince had such a habit was to carry out a secret plan with Palace Master Yun Qi. At the same time, Palace Master Yun Qi had also helped the ninth prince break through during this period of time. If not for this, it would have been very difficult for the ninth prince to break through to such a realm with his own talent and hard work. In terms of talent, Qi Yinran, who had a king-level original spirit, was better. However, even with Qi Yinran's strength, she had not broken through to the Yuan King realm. It was the same for someone as strong as Qin Erishur. He had not broken through to the Yuan King realm. It was not just a simple realm. It was a very difficult threshold. It was not easy to cross over. Palace Master Yun Qi represented an extremely secretive sect. Some time ago, she had found the ninth prince and discussed the terms with him. Palace Master Yun Qi could help the ninth prince compete for the position of the crown prince. At the same time, the ninth prince would also provide protection for the people of Zishuan court behind Palace Master Yun Qi. Because of this, they had reached an agreement. Every month on a cloudy day, the ninth prince would come to the spring flower and autumn moon and to cultivate with Palace Master Yun Qi. It was through this method that his strength increased. Although the cultivation method was somewhat unique, there was nothing wrong with it. Today, the dignified ninth prince had suffered such a great loss in the territory of Zishuan court. Palace Master Yun Qi and the other experts of Zishuan court did not appear. They just watched as he was beaten up. In the end, the Mind Power Land was forcefully taken away by Li Zongjiu. Chapter 564. Do you think you can make it up to me with these small favors? The ninth prince said coldly. Even so, the 10,000 flower dew did calm down the ninth prince's anger. This was another side effect of the 10,000 flower dew. It could keep people in a tranquil and peaceful state. It was a very rare and precious medicinal liquid. In fact, young Master Xian Ming, you should thank Li Zongjiu. Palace Master Yun Qi said slowly. Oh, that brat extorted 1 billion purple yuan from me and humiliated me in front of all of you. He even forcefully took away my mental energy. Do I have to thank Li Zongjiu for this? The ninth prince's eyes turned cold. Immediately, a murderous aura filled the air. If Palace Master Yun Qi was making fun of him, then he, the ninth prince, would have to use his real power as a prince to teach her a lesson. Of course, young Master's luminous moon qi has already been cultivated to the 3rd level. The reason why you haven't been able to break through is because young Master's cultivation is too smooth. In addition to the influence of mental energy, it has slowed down your cultivation progress. Palace Master Yun Qi said slowly. When these words were spoken, the ninth prince, who was about to fly into a rage, suppressed his shock at this moment. He paid great attention to such news, because it was related to the state of his training. The bright moon genuine qi had indeed been progressing slowly recently. It seemed that there was always a force that was suppressing the progress of his genuine qi. Now that he heard Palace Master Yun Qi's words, he suddenly understood that it seemed to be the case. It was because his mental energy was in an extremely strong state that his bright moon genuine qi was hindered. Now Li Zongjiu took away his mental energy by force. In this world, there were not many people who could do this. However, Li Zongjiu could do it. Therefore, for the ninth prince, this was a great opportunity. He had to seize this opportunity to make up for his losses. You're right. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Ha ha ha. This prince wants to see if there is anyone in this world who can stop my sharpness. The ninth prince laughed out loud, and then asked Palace Master Yun Qi to open the door of the secret cultivation room. There was a large array inside the secret chamber that could help the ninth prince condense his power and speed up the cultivation of the bright moon real qi. Even if it was only for one night, the effect of the cultivation would be dozens, or even hundreds of times better than usual. It was precisely because of such an obvious effect that the ninth prince had come to the spring flowers and autumn moon house so diligently. Furthermore, he had almost never been absent. Today, however, Li Zongjiu had forcefully taken away his spiritual power. It was originally a depressing matter, But Palace Master Yunqi's explanation made the ninth prince happy. The cultivation of psychic power had always been under the guidance of Master Mirror Emperor, who served as the palace guardian elder in the imperial palace. It seemed that not everyone had the talent for dual cultivation. In the cultivation of psychic power and yuan qi, if there was a conflict between the attributes, there would be a state of mutual suppression. When the ninth prince entered the secret chamber to cultivate, Palace Master Yunqi's aura suddenly turned cold. Palace Master Yunqi's aura suddenly became extremely cold. It seemed that she had turned hostile in an instant. Go and investigate Li Zongjiu's background for me. Who exactly is he? Is he here for Purple Xian Court or the ninth prince? Palace Master Yunqi's eyes revealed a kind of invisible fierceness and viciousness. If such a person was enraged, no ordinary person would be able to stop him. Palace Master Yunqi naturally noticed Li Zongjiu when Li Zongjiu made his move. However, when she discovered that Li Zongjiu's strength had already reached the Yuan King realm and could kill the ninth prince, who was at the same level as him, she knew that Li Zongjiu's strength was definitely not an ordinary cultivation method. Even Palace Master Yunqi could feel it very clearly. Li Zongjiu must have a stronger power that he had not used. If he used this power, even she, Palace Master Yunqi, might not be a match for Li Zongjiu. If he used a forbidden move, it would definitely bring great trouble to her. At the very least, the arrangements in the imperial palace would be destroyed in a moment. It would definitely be a great blow to Purple Xian Court. Therefore, Palace Master Yunqi had to remain calm. She could only watch helplessly as Li Zongjiu thoroughly tortured the ninth prince and the others. I can see that that guy is very interested in the two of you. If necessary, I will arrange for the two of you to go to Li Zongjiu's side, Palace Master Yunqi said indifferently. Palace Master Yunqi looked at the people around her and said indifferently. Bing Shuang and Bing Shue's eyes did not change at all. As long as it was the Palace Master's order, they would follow it unconditionally. They did not care about the fate and consequences. It could be said that this pair of twin sisters was carefully cultivated by Purple Xian Court. All these years, they had been assisting the ninth prince by his side. Even the ninth prince did not know their true identities. Obviously, Purple Xian Court was also very powerful. They could actually cover the sky with one hand, under the nose of the ninth prince. It was really shocking. If the ninth prince knew the truth, he would probably be so shocked that his teeth would fall out. However, what Palace Master Yunqi did not know was who Li Zongjiu was, and why he came to her Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower to make a scene. Was it because of the ninth prince or something else? If he was here to spy on the situation of Purple Xian Court, he must be looking for an opportunity to get rid of Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu, you'd better not do anything rash. There was a hint of uneasiness in Yunqi's eyes. Judging from some of Li Zongjiu's actions, she obviously knew that Li Zongjiu was a fearless person. However, if Li Zongjiu did not come to target her, Yunqi would be very willing to make friends with Li Zongjiu. That's right, Fian, go and gather 1 billion purple yuan coins. Prepare the amount that Li Zongjiu wants for him. If he can calm down after receiving the money, give it to him first. Sooner or later, he will have to pay back this debt. Yes, Palace Master. Chapter 565. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Li Zongjiu also walked out of the door of the Genius Tower on the 14th floor. He had already reached the 14th floor. There were only 3 obstacles left. As long as he passed the 14th floor, Li Zongjiu would be able to easily obtain the lower half of the Universe 9 revolving needle. This way, Li Zongjiu would have fulfilled his promise to alchemist Nan Sheng. Li Zongjiu didn't like to owe people favors. Therefore, if possible, Li Zongjiu would rather deliver this item to Nan Sheng as soon as possible. Although it was possible that the current Nan Sheng had already forgotten about him, Li Zongjiu didn't care about this. He had some connections in his previous life, but in this life, they might not be able to collide again. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was very open-minded. However, Li Zongjiu also had a great ambition in his heart. Although it could be said that Li Zongjiu's cultivation in his previous life had already reached the pinnacle, but in front of the Nanxing family, his influence was still very small. Of course, Being able to achieve this little influence was already very impressive in itself. Li Zongjio's pride in this life was to make his clan even more powerful than medicine master Nanxing's. He wanted to look down on all of heaven and earth. As for the future development, Li Zongjio did not care. As long as he was alive, his Wuxia city's Li family would exist forever. When Li Zongjio walked out, he happened to see someone walking up from the 13th floor. It's you. It's you who caused me to go through so much trouble. Come out, I want to negotiate with you. The girl with a long ponytail, whom he met for the first time, seemed to have an indescribable anger. At this moment, when facing Li Zongjio, she could not wait to strangle Li Zongjio to death. Who are you? Li Zongjio looked at the girl in a long white dress in front of him. The latter's temperament gave Li Zongjio a feeling of purity. This pure feeling was as if this girl was directly transformed from a medicinal herb. It was so magical. You don't even know my name, yet you dare to step on my head. Now I finally caught you. The girl in front of him was so angry that her whole body puffed up. Seeing this scene, Li Zongjio was really worried that this little girl's cheeks would directly puff up and then explode. Li Zongjio also subconsciously stretched out a finger and poked the girl's puffed-up cheeks. Pooh! The pure girl's eyes in front of him, and Li Zongjio's eyes also looked into each other's eyes. The girl did not expect Li Zongjio to be able to do such a thing, and Li Zongjio did not seem to realize that his actions were a little too intimate for this girl. You, die. However, the extent of the girl's anger was not something Li Zongjio could imagine. Immediately, he could see that the goddess's eyes seemed to be spewing out flames, and it was as if she wanted to swallow Li Zongjio directly. In the next moment, the girl in white also released an extremely terrifying mental energy. It directly blasted towards Li Zongjio. It was as if a stormy sea had rolled up in the mental world, and it directly fell towards Li Zongjio. Unfortunately, in front of Li Zongjio, who had seen many storms and waves, it was not worth mentioning at all. Similarly, his mental energy directly turned into a fish, and easily drilled into the stormy sea. In the process of swimming, it also neutralized the opponent's mental energy attack. However, Li Zongjio could also feel that the opponent's mental energy only wanted to show him who was the boss, and did not really want to kill him. If she really wanted to kill Li Zongjio, she might have been killed by Li Zongjio instead. This girl's mental energy is really vast. Although Li Zongjio's mental energy turned into a fish and easily dodged, during the process of swimming, he could clearly feel the terrifying power coming from the girl's body. It was no wonder that she could advance by leaps and bounds in the Genius Tower, and was even comparable to Li Zongjio for a while. This showed that the latter's strength was not weak. Your mental energy has actually broken through to the king level? The girl looked at Li Zongjio in shock. Is this very difficult? Li Zongjio said disdainfully. She was merely at the king level. So what was there to be surprised about? Although the girl in front of him had a powerful mental energy, there seemed to be some kind of power protecting her in her body. Ordinary people might only have one secret, but this girl actually had two. Hearing Li Zongjio's understatement, the girl was so angry that she wanted to eat him. What did he mean by "is this very difficult"? It was obviously very difficult. She was only able to break through to the Yuan King level in such a short time, because of her talent and the power of her bloodline. Even she had just broken through not too long ago. She had wanted to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, in the heavenly day medicine manner. However, she had not expected to encounter an extremely mysterious fellow, who had actually overtaken her, and forcibly stolen her limelight. This made her very unhappy. If she were to compare other things, she might still be lacking. However, in the Genius Pavilion, a powerful mind power was simply an unimpeded identity token. Under such circumstances, with her king-level mind power, there was no way she could have an opponent. Sure enough, there was an opponent. It was Li Zongjio. She had originally thought that he was a freak, but he looked no different from an ordinary person, and actually possessed the mind energy of a Yuan King-level mental energy. This was something that surprised the girl herself. It wasn't easy for her to meet this freak today. The girl was prepared to teach him a lesson, and let him know that he was wrong. He shouldn't have competed with her for the limelight. Most importantly, None of the rewards from the Genius Tower fell into her hands. How could she contribute to the family and obtain her freedom? Otherwise, once they graduated, they would have to go back to their family and stay in that boring alchemy room all day long. Or, there would be a group of white-bearded old men studying there. It was very scary. Just thinking about it made them not dare to go back. They didn't even dare to ask to graduate. Do you want to become rich overnight? The young girl suddenly said to Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio could see that the young girl's eyes were constantly moving, as if she was planning something bad. Chapter 566. What do you have in mind? Li Zongjio asked. The girl looked around. This is not the place to talk. Follow me. Li Zongjio came out of seclusion today to collect debts, but he encountered this girl. He thought it would be better to delay it for the time being. After all, nothing big would happen. The girl in front of him was definitely not simple. Li Zongjio was also curious as to why such a person would appear in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was not bad, in reality, with the girl's strength, she was on the same level as Li Zongjio. There was no one who could teach them. In terms of alchemy skills, the two of them were stronger than any of the instructors in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Li Zongjio was so, and so was the girl in front of him. It seemed that the girl's goal was to enter the Genius Pavilion. 2 bowls of crystal sugar water. You're in luck. It's my treat today. Feel honored. The girl brought Li Zongjio to a roadside sugar water stall. Although such a place was relatively simple, and not as luxurious as a high-class inn, it often had a unique taste. When you got used to it, you would like to eat it very much. Therefore, Li Zongjio also wanted to taste what this sugar water was like. 2 bowls of crystal sugar water were served in front of the two of them. Li Zongjio was about to start eating, but the girl stopped him. Hey little student, don't be in such a hurry to eat. We haven't talked about serious matters yet. Tell me, do you want to have a lot of money? The young girl asked mysteriously. At the same time, she looked around before moving closer to Li Zongjio and speaking slowly. If you cooperate with me, I'll give you a lot of money. Oh, what do you want from me? Li Zongjio unconsciously avoided the girl's hand and took a bite of the sugar water in her hand. The taste was quite good. It was cold and refreshing, and there was a slightly sour taste in his throat. The feeling of eating it was quite good. Seeing that Li Zongjio had actually started eating, the girl didn't continue to stop him. She also couldn't wait to take a bite. Only you and I can clear the Genius Tower. The others are all trash. You and I can work together to clear the Genius Tower. You can make a copy of what you get and sell the original to me. The girl said in a low voice. Li Zongjio smiled as he listened. Are you talking about the 9 turns universe needle? He waved the bamboo scroll in his hand. The young girl only had time to clearly see the words carved on the scroll. Universe 9 revolving needles. Her eyes started to drool. In fact, from the looks of it, the other party looked as if he was about to jump out from his spot and start snatching it. Li Zongjio was also very fast. He put away the scroll in his hand and didn't give the other party a chance at all. There should only be the first part here, right? Although I already have the first part, your item isn't very valuable to me. If you can get the second part, I'll give you a very satisfactory price. The corners of the girl's mouth twitched as she spoke mysteriously. Li Zongjio, on the other hand, looked at the girl in surprise. He hadn't expected the girl to know about the Universe 9 revolving needles. Furthermore, she also had the first part in her hand. This was what surprised Li Zongjio. The Universe 9 revolving needles had never appeared on this continent before the Genius Tower. It seemed like someone from the girl's family had also cleared the Genius Tower before. However, due to the age restriction of the Genius Tower, it became more and more difficult towards the end. Hence, it had always been stuck at this step. In that case, someone from the girl's family had already cleared the Genius Tower before. Now that it was the girl's turn, she obviously wanted the second part of the Universe 9 revolving needles very much. Although Li Zongjio didn't know exactly where the girl came from, he already had a few guesses in his heart. The reason she had come to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor seemed to be for the Universe 9 revolving needles. One had to know that there were many precious cultivation techniques at the back of the genius tower? These questions could be answered with a little calculation. However, the girl was very interested in the universe 9 revolving needles. There had to be a reason behind it. If I'm not wrong, the second part of the scroll should be the last stage on the 14th floor. How much do you think it's worth? Li Zongjio looked at the girl in front of him and asked playfully. How about this amount? The girl stretched out 3 fingers. 300 million purple yuan? Li Zongjio asked with a frown. Although 300 million wasn't a small amount, it was nothing to Li Zongjio, who had a net worth of tens of billions. The girl shook her head and revealed a faint confidence at the corner of her mouth. Li Zongjio knew that he seemed to have underestimated the girl in front of him. 3 billion? 3, the girl said. Li Zongjio continued to wait for the girl to continue. 3 upper-grade primordial stones. Even Li Zongjio was slightly surprised when he heard this number. The exchange rate between upper-grade primordial stones and middle-grade primordial stones was at least 1 to 10, or even 1 to 20. This mainly depended on the purity. The preciousness of middle-grade primordial stones could be seen from the fact that the Fog Elixir sect had only found 3 middle-grade primordial stones in the remains of a peak origin ancestor. Although it was from a long time ago, it was definitely considered rich. The Li family also received a middle-grade primordial stone at that time. Now, even Li Zongjio only had a few middle-grade primordial stones left in his hands. These were found on Han Wuxia's body previously. Before this, he had never even seen an upper-grade primordial stone. 3 upper-grade primordial stones was definitely a big deal. If 3 upper-grade primordial stones were sold at the same time, it was estimated that some people would be willing to spend 60 or even 70 middle-grade primordial stones to exchange for them. Ordinary people wouldn't be willing to exchange for them. For consumables like primordial stones, the higher grade they were, the more precious they were. Just like the value of a 6th-grade elixir, it was far from the value of a 5th-grade elixir. There was still a huge difference between the two. 3 upper-grade primordial stones is not a small amount. Li Zongjio nodded and said, if it was someone who had not seen the world, they might be shocked by these 3 primordial stones. But in his previous life, Li Zongjio had seen a lot of primordial stones, not to mention primordial stones of the highest grade and primordial stones of the highest grade. Even these upper-grade primordial stones were just a pile of broken stones for Li Zongjio. Only the top-grade primordial stones and the top-grade primordial stones were slightly more attractive. The others were not in his eyes at all. However, his current strength was not as strong as in his previous life, so he still had to grasp these resources well. If this girl wanted to exchange some other things with Li Zongjio, then Li Zongjio wouldn't mind considering it. Unfortunately, Li Zongjio had already promised to give her the lower part of the universe 9 rotating needle. Therefore, he could only refuse this girl's request. So you agree? The girl's eyes suddenly bloomed with brilliance. Li Zongjio shook his head slowly. You think too much. Chapter 567. Li Zongjio did not hold back at all. The girl heard that Li Zongjio dared to refuse her. Moreover, he dared to eat the sugar water she ordered. She immediately stretched out her hand and took the bowl of sugar water from Li Zongjio's hand. If you don't agree, don't even think about eating my sugar water, the girl said angrily. She did not expect this guy to be so ungrateful. After eating her sugar water, he dared to refuse her. If you think it's too little, I can give you 2 more upper-grade primordial stones. This is the highest I can give you. I can't give you more, the girl said. 5 upper-grade primordial stones. This was the most she had in her pocket. If she wanted anything else, she really couldn't take it out. It's not about the primordial stones. I have already promised to give this to another person. You're late, Li Zongjio said. But if you want it, you can buy it from her after I give it to her. In this way, wouldn't it be the best of both worlds? Li Zongjio's idea was naturally good. However, the girl's eyes were burning with flames. Who dared to steal her limelight? She did not expect someone to act first. This caused the young girl to be extremely angry. She wanted to see exactly who this person was. Not only that, she wanted to let Li Zongjio know how powerful she was. Is that so? Then you're out of luck. because now you've offended a very powerful person. The difficulty of the 14th level depends on who breaks through first, the girl said as she clenched her small fist. She glared at Li Zongjio. Looking at her posture, it seemed like she wanted to declare war on Li Zongjio. One had to admit that this girl was quite scary when she was serious. After the girl finished speaking, she opened her mouth and directly poured the 2 bowls of sugar water into her stomach. She did not give Li Zongjio any chance. This made Li Zongjio stunned. Isn't this lass a little too excited? You. Li Zongjio pointed at the girl and was speechless. Li Zongjio believed that he was a very shameless person. If he couldn't come to an agreement, he would directly make a move and beat the other party until they had no temper. However, the girl in front of him was even more shameless than him. Not only did the negotiation not reach an agreement, but he was also not allowed to drink the sugar water. This was simply outrageous. How could there be such a thing? This made Li Zongjio flustered and exasperated. However, the girl also got up and left. You pay the bill. After saying that, the figure dashed out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. If Li Zongjio's guess was correct, then this little girl probably didn't have much money on her at all. Under such circumstances, she still dared to invite Li Zongjio and Tang Shui. Simply, he had never seen such an outrageous girl. Li Zongjio didn't know the girl's name. However, it wasn't difficult to find out. He just had to check who was first on the alchemy master ranking. With the girl's strength, she could easily squeeze into the alchemy master ranking even if she wasn't careful. Moreover, she could hang high in the first place, and no one could shake her position. Before Li Zongjio appeared, she had to be a well-deserved overlord. He reckoned that the sudden increase in speed last time had something to do with this girl's breakthrough. This girl is awesome. Li Zongjio shook his head helplessly. Although the Tang Shui was delicious, Li Zongjio still had serious matters to attend to. Li Zongjio placed a 100,000 gold coin deposit check on the table and immediately got up and left. The stall owner was also an old woman who was close to 60 years old. She had been making sweet water her whole life, and many of her customers were returning customers. When the old woman went to clean up the table, she discovered that there was a banknote of 100,000 yuan on the table. She immediately widened her eyes and picked up the check to look at it repeatedly. Only then did she confirm that it was real. She immediately became excited. Thank you, thank you. The old woman's eyes were filled with tears, and her hands were trembling. Li Zongjio had casually given her a banknote, which was enough for the old woman's family to work hard to earn money for a lifetime. Spring flower and autumn moon in. When Li Zongjio arrived at the brothel again, the sky was already dark. The spring flowers and autumn moon in's proper restaurant business had already closed for the day. What was about to begin was the true highlight of the show. The true reason why the spring flowers and autumn moon inn was known throughout the world. When Li Zongjio arrived, he felt that there were many experts in the spring flower and autumn moon inn. Come, young master. Let's listen to the music. This little girl knows how to play and sing. A girl threw a handkerchief directly at Li Zongjio's face. Li Zongjio directly raised his hand. Ask your family's lord to come find me. Oh, this guest, since you're already here, why are you still standing outside? Come in with me, it won't be too late to wait inside. The girl wanted to pull Li Zongjio, but she didn't manage to grab Li Zongjio's clothes. She saw Li Zongjio's figure flash in front of her eyes and walk out. When she looked again, he had already walked into the spring flower and autumn moon inn. Tonight was not a dark night. Therefore, the spring flower and autumn moon pavilion welcomed quite a number of esteemed guests, causing everyone to be extremely busy. Li Zongjio walked in and realized that all the guests were gathered on the first floor. Starting from the stairs on the second floor, there were rows of strong men in black martial attire. They stood in rows and rows in a military posture. If it were someone who was slightly timid, they wouldn't even dare to get too close. This guest, I'm sorry. I'm Xiaofeng. The upper floor is already full. Why don't I accompany you downstairs for a drink? A gorgeously dressed girl with heavy makeup walked up. She was almost sticking her whole body to Li Zongjio. Your family's Madame Fei Yan? Yes, that's the name. Where is she? Li Zongjio asked. These people really didn't have the attitude of admitting their mistakes. They didn't even send the money directly to the casino and wanted him to come here himself. Madam is currently entertaining distinguished guests upstairs. It's not convenient now. Why don't I accompany you to play? What do you want to play? Play your father. Seeing that the girl called Xiaofeng still wanted to stick to him, Li Zongjio directly raised his hand and pushed her away. She spun a few rounds on the spot and finally flew out. Looks like I'll have to go through a lot of trouble again. Li Zongjio looked at the rows of guards standing at the top of the stairs. Although these people had changed into casual clothes, he could still tell at a glance that the aura on their bodies was the aura of soldiers. Stop. Unrelated people are not allowed to go upstairs. When Li Zongjio was about to go up the stairs, he was directly turned around by the two men. They were like two walls in front of him. Chapter 568. Two burly men immediately blocked Li Zongjio's path. Li Zongjio did not waste any time. With a flicker of his eyes, his mental energy transformed into two palms and sent the two men in front of him flying. Slap! Slap! It was as if two invisible palms had slapped their faces, sending them flying. When the two men were sent flying, the guards were stunned for a moment. Then one of them roared, "Take them down!" Immediately, they rushed down from the stairs one after another. However, in the face of these people's attacks, Li Zongjio only raised his hand slightly. His powerful mental energy easily sent these people flying to the ceiling. Bang, bang, bang. When they fell, some tables and chairs were smashed into smithereens. Some of the guests were also at a loss. They hurriedly pushed away the ladies in their arms and turned to run, afraid that they would hurt them. Once the chaos started, who knew how many people took advantage of the chaos to escape? Some of them did not even have the time to pay before they disappeared without a trace. Seeing such a situation, the guard on the second floor, who looked like an instructor, immediately roared at Li Zongjio. Who dares to be so impudent? With this roar, an extremely terrifying aura immediately gushed out from him. Such a terrifying aura caused the scalps of the surrounding people to go numb. Li Zongjio, who was dozens of steps away, gently waved his hand. Slap! A loud and clear slap directly landed on the man's face. Three of the black-faced instructor's teeth flew out. The black-faced instructor fell to the ground with a thud. When the black-faced instructor rolled on the ground and rolled into a private room, the people in the room immediately became angry. The person who booked the entire place today was an adult with 5 items. Although he himself was not much, he had an extremely strong background. Recently, he had directly established a relationship with the young master of the Shi family. This was even more out of control. This person was the son of the deputy commander of the city guard army. Currently, he was in charge of a group of guards that was specifically in charge of the deputy commander. Although his influence in the army was not great, he was able to influence the deputy commander. This situation was quite impressive. As long as young Master Guan Hoyang opened his mouth, there would be a huge change in the city guard army. Logically speaking, it was rather indecent for someone of Guan Hoyang's status to appear in the spring flowers and autumn moon inn. However, since the son of the newly appointed Shi family head was willing to cooperate with Guan Hoyang, he was naturally more than happy to do so. The guards outside the door were Guan Hoyang's troops and the Shi family's guards. However, when the black-faced instructor was beaten up, Guan Hoyang's expression immediately became sullen and angry. Guan Hoyang was not considered old. He was only about 23 or 24 years old. To be able to become the commander of the city guard army at such a young age, apart from his father, there was also a group of people supporting him from behind. Take the black-faced instructor in front of him for example. If it were not for the loyal support of these people, who had been imparting all kinds of knowledge to him since he was young, Guan Hoyang would not have been able to reach where he was today. Uncle He Bing, what happened to you? Guan Hoyang hurriedly went forward and helped the black-faced instructor up. He Bing's mouth was full of blood. When he opened his mouth, a pool of blood spurted out. Shi Baoshan frowned when he saw this scene. Then, he signaled the experts behind him to send one of them out to see what was going on. Shi Baoshan could be said to be flushed with success recently. Although he had a little status in the Shi family in the past, He was really in a dispensable state, and was not valued at all. However, it was different now. Shi Baoshan's father, Shi Chuji, had directly become the Shi family's patriarch. As the young clan head, Shi Baoshan's status and position naturally rose with the tide. In the past, he did not have the right to participate in some activities and venues. Now he was scrambling to be the first to invite Shi Baoshan to participate in them. Therefore, Shi Baoshan was becoming more and more arrogant. Recently, the Shi family had also given him a task, which was to get in touch with the city guard army. It would be best if he could get in touch with the deputy commander, or even the commander. It seemed like there was a big deal to be done. However, Shi Baoshan was not clear about the main business content for the time being. Today, he had just gotten in touch with Guan Houyang, the son of the deputy commander of the city guard army. The two of them chatted happily. They were birds of a feather. Just when the discussion was about to reach a critical point, such a scene happened. The mood of the night was directly disrupted. Madame Fei Yan, although I, Shi Baoshan, am not a powerful person, I can still afford to book this place. Now that something like this has happened, are you not giving me, Shi Baoshan, any face? Shi Baoshan looked at Madame Fian, who was preparing the wine at the side. This woman who pretended to be virtuous, wasn't she just a whore? Sooner or later, he would get rid of her. Now was a good excuse. Madame Fian's expression changed slightly, because just now, her subordinate also came to report the situation. In addition, Madame Fian had also guessed that the person who came wasn't someone to be trifled with. Last time, even the ninth prince didn't get any benefits from this person, let alone others. Perhaps, the ending would be even more miserable. Initially, he wanted to stop them and explain the situation to them. However, Guan Houyang had already helped the black-faced instructor up. His eyes were filled with ferocity, and killing intent was released from his body. He was the dignified Guan Houyang, the commander-in-chief of the guards. He was actually slapped in the face when he was drinking here. How could Guan Houyang tolerate this? He had to capture this person, lock him up in the water prison, and torture him mercilessly. Someone who dared to offend him in the sacred Flame Royal City. This really surprised Guan Houyang. This person was obviously courting death. Follow me, all of you. I want to see who is this person who doesn't want his life. Just when Guan Houyang was about to walk out, he saw a figure being thrown in. With a bang, Guan Houyang was sent flying back. A second ago, he was incomparably brave. But in the next second, he fell to the ground. Speaking of Guan Houyang's skills, which were honed in the army, shouldn't be too bad. Why couldn't he avoid such a situation? However, this matter happened too suddenly. He couldn't react in time, and was knocked to the ground. Li Zongjie walked in from outside. He scanned the surroundings and finally locked his gaze on Madame Fian. Chapter 569. So you're here. Have you prepared the things I asked for? Li Zongjie looked at Madame Fian and said. There were other people in the house, but they were all ignored by Li Zongjie. These small fries in front of him were not qualified to hang around in front of him. Therefore, he did not care at all. If they dared to disturb him, Li Zongjie would not mind getting rid of them. Shi Baoshan was the one who was the most upset. In the past, Shi Baoshan would have been ignored. But now he was a popular figure in the Shi family, who knew how many people wanted to find connections with him and build bridges with him in order to climb up the Shi family's social ladder. If they could cooperate with the Shi family, even if it was just a little help in some business, it would be enough for them to work hard for a long time. Therefore, this kind of interpersonal relationship was very important. Recently, Shi Baoshan and Shi Baoshan had attended many dinners and were received by many people. Unknowingly, Shi Baoshan also thought that he was a very powerful person. Just this thought alone was enough to make Shi Baoshan indulge in his role. Now Li Zongjie, a daring madman who came out of nowhere, a little bandit, a little hooligan, and the like, had actually ignored him. This made him very unhappy. Brat, don't you think it's rude to greet people when you enter? Shi Baoshan said indifferently. Immediately, he stood up and grabbed the sword of the person beside him. When he stood up, his body gradually released a murderous aura. Li Zongjie directly waved his hand. Bang! Shi Baoshan was sent flying out of the window with his sword. He fell from the window on the second floor and landed in the backyard. He did not even have time to say anything else. The expert that Shi Baoshan brought was only an ancestor-level expert. When he saw Li Zongjio throw him out of the window, he naturally understood that Li Zongjio in front of him was not someone he could compete with. Brat, you offended someone you can't afford to offend. You'll regret it. After the middle-aged expert threw out a harsh sentence, he directly jumped towards the place where his young master fell. Young master, are you all right? Guan Houyang, who was on the ground, was about to get up, but Li Zongjio stepped on his face. When he stepped on his face, he used a little strength, and Guan Houyang was about to faint. Madame Fian was already used to Li Zongjio's unscrupulous behavior. Calm down, young master. Just follow me. I've already prepared everything, Madame Fian said with a slight bow. Compared to Madame Fian's age, she wasn't too old. Right now, Madame Fian only looked to be 31 or 22 years old. Furthermore, she wasn't married, yet she directly gave herself such a title. When Madame Fian and Li Zongjio walked out of the private room together, Madame Fian was shocked. Madame Fian was completely shocked when she saw the corridor and the stairs, as well as the people lying on the ground all around the hall. For the sake of a mere 1 billion purple yuan, they had actually caused such a huge commotion. If this continued, then perhaps the Special Envoy Department would come in a while. Not to mention that the spring flower and autumn moon was the 9th Prince's territory. Without the 9th Prince's permission, even the Special Envoy Department would not dare to get close to it. Needless to say, ordinary executive envoys would not dare to go to places that were slightly more serious. Some of the bigger cases would have to be handed over. Although the Special Envoy Department's job was to protect the peace and prosperity of the city, most of the time, they were like plainclothes constables. They would roam around the city and catch some people, investigate some cases of fire, theft, and molestation. Of course, the Special Envoy Department wanted to make a comeback. However, it wouldn't be easy to make a comeback in such a turbid environment. But this time, Li Zongjio was probably going to fall. Now Li Zongjio had directly offended a person with real power. For the time being, it was hard to say what Shi Baoshan would do. After all, Shi Baoshan's situation was like this. If he was not careful, he might be directly locked up by the Shi family. Or if something unexpected happened in the Shi family, it would have a great impact on Shi Baoshan's situation. Another thing was Guan Houyang. One must know that Guan Houyang's father was the deputy commander of the City Guard Army. Currently, there were 7 military camps in the City Guard Army. As the deputy commander, he could mobilize the strength of at least 3 military camps at any time. He could directly take you away by force. If you killed the soldiers of the City Guard Army during this rebellion, they could use the name of rebellion to directly behead you on the spot. When that time came, the strength of the army wouldn't be as simple as a group of people rushing forward. When all kinds of battle formations were assembled and operated, their power could be said to be extremely terrifying. Coupled with some very powerful destructive equipment, it was simply not something that ordinary people could resist. Although there were places in the underworld like the 7-star fire room and the Bright Thunder workshop, which could independently forge weapons, it was said that the 7-star fire room and the Bright Thunder workshop. However, the truly powerful place was obviously the Flame Hammer Pavilion of the Xingyan dynasty. The power of the armaments forged in the Flame Hammer Pavilion wouldn't be easily revealed. Ordinary people simply had no way of coming into contact with them. No one knew what kind of terrifying origin weapons were forged in the Flame Hammer Pavilion. For example, the fiercest siege chariot on the battlefield now. If they waited for the siege chariot to attack, it would basically take less than an hour to easily break through the city gate. Think about it. If such a battlefield monster was used to deal with a small family mansion, how long would it take? Therefore, although the weapons in the Jianghu were powerful, they were only small skirmishes. Once some large-scale origin weapons were used, it would be a display of the power of the Xingyan dynasty. If you want to exterminate the mountain bandits, but the terrain of the mountain bandits is extremely complicated, then I'll directly blow up the entire mountain. This is a true flattening. I can blow up the entire mountain and flatten it. There was no room for negotiation. Therefore, Li Zongjiu offending Guan Huoyang was a very stupid thing to do. However, Madame Fian wasn't in a hurry to explain to Li Zongjiu. Even if Guan Huoyang didn't make a move to deal with Li Zongjiu, the ninth prince would still make a move and eliminate Li Zongjiu. Otherwise, even Zishuan Pavilion would pay attention to Li Zongjiu. If Li Zongjiu was just an ordinary person, then his corpse would probably be floating on the Ding River by now. However, it was also because Li Zongjiu's intentions were still unclear that Zishuan Pavilion didn't want to complicate matters. Therefore, they tolerated Li Zongjiu until he reached this point. Madame Fian came to a room on the 3rd floor. Looking at the room, it should be a study, but the atmosphere of the study was close to a kind of blurry pink. How could one read a book in such an environment? There are 1 billion purple yuan in this storage ring. In addition, there's 100 million purple yuan as compensation for what happened last time. Madame Fian took out a storage ring and handed it to Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu took the storage ring and gently scanned it with his spiritual power. He found that there were many boxes in the storage ring, all of which were millions of yuan notes. Where's the ninth prince's spiritual power? Madame Fian saw that Li Zongjiu didn't seem to have any intention of handing over the spiritual power, so she directly asked. Chapter 570. Mental energy. What mental energy? Li Zongjiu asked. Li Zongjiu naturally knew what Madame Fian was talking about. She was talking about the kid's mental energy. However, if he wanted to preserve that tiny bit of mental energy, he would have to expend a lot more effort. Therefore, Li Zongjiu used the mental energy to hone his vast flying dagger. He used the mental energy to hone his vast flying dagger. The vast flying dagger in his hand was slightly sharper than before. At the very least, it would not be too strenuous for him to deal with people below the 5th grade Yuan King realm. Since it had already been used up, where was Li Zongjiu going to get it back? Naturally, he could only pretend to be deaf and dumb. You took away the ninth prince's mental energy previously. You said that you would return it to him, as long as he paid. Madame Fian became anxious when she saw Li Zongjiu trying to act shamelessly. Did I say that? Why don't I remember? Li Zongjiu scratched his head and asked Madame Fian. What time is it now? It's dinner time now. I'll take my leave first. You guys can continue playing. Li Zongjiu said. Then he left immediately. Madame Fian was so angry that she stomped her feet. That damned liar. All men are liars. Madame Fian looked at Li Zongjiu, who was leaving. She could not do anything to Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was obviously prepared to act shamelessly. What could she do to him? However, Madame Fian did not chase after him. Soon there was a secret compartment in the room. A figure walked out from it. It was Palace Master Yun Qi. This was also part of the plan. If Li Zongjiu came, she would bring Li Zongjiu to this room. If Li Zongjiu had any intention of targeting Zishuan Court, Palace Master Yun Qi could take action secretly and kill Li Zongjiu directly. However, since Li Zongjiu left so quickly, it seemed that he didn't come for the Zishuan Court. Although this method was a bit rude, it was also more principled. Palace Master Yun Qi also appreciated this point very much in her heart. It seems like this person's target is not us. There's no need to worry. Madame Fian said. Don't be happy too early. I always have a hunch that this person already knows about my existence. Although the secret compartment in this room was specially built to conceal the aura very well, she always had a hunch that Li Zongjiu already knew about her existence. It was just that he did not care. Even if he wanted to kill Li Zongjiu just now, it would not be easy. Thinking about it this way, this Li Zongjiu was really a terrifying person. But according to the information, Li Zongjiu was just a complete loser half a year ago. He did not have any cultivation talent at all. Even if we spent a lot of money, we still couldn't cure this guy. Madame Fian said. Obviously, she was also very curious about Li Zongjiu, because after that, Li Zongjiu's strength directly improved. It was as if he was soaring. He directly improved to such a level. Madame Fian and the others did not know where to start. Before this, there was not even a trace of him. This was the most powerful existence. That was why these people valued Li Zongjiu so much. If they wanted to make someone become an expert overnight, they would have to use this method. The most famous method was some people from evil sections. Li Zongjiu's origins are mysterious. Recently, the southern border's poison cult seems to have already started to track us down. I estimate that they've already started to make arrangements in the southwest region. We must act quickly. Otherwise, once the southern border's poison cult invades on a large scale, our Zishuan pavilion will definitely suffer a calamity. Palace Master, is the poison sect in Nanjiang really so powerful? They're not just powerful. They can even kill people without leaving any bones behind. This is a truly vicious method. Palace Master Yin Qi said. Only a few of them had witnessed the prowess of the poison sect. For Palace Master Yin Qi, she did not want to see such a tragic scene again. Madame Fian was also very confused. Why were the people from the poison sect in Nanjiang so relentlessly pursuing them? Could it be that there was some deep hatred between them? Palace Master, why did the people from the poison sect in Nanjiang want to kill everyone from our Zishuan court? Even with Madame Fian's qualifications, she still did not know what exactly happened at that time. She only received a notice from the higher-ups that they had to immediately move and cover their tracks. Therefore, this group of people fled here in a panic. Apart from this, there were many other branches that were currently scattered outside. Until now, they had not been able to meet up. Palace Master Yin Qi was also silent for a while. Then she looked at Madame Fian in front of her. Our Zishuan court only recruits women. In addition, all of our disciples have extremely special constitutions. That's why they can cultivate the moon god technique of our Zishuan court. And the moon god technique that we cultivate is the best refining material for the people from the poison sect in Nanjiang to refine their parasites. The higher the cultivation of a person, the more powerful the parasites they refine will be if they become the property of the poison sect in Nanjiang. If the people from our Zishuan court are caught, they'll suffer a fate worse than death. Palace Master Yin Qi's eyes flashed. Not only did she feel worried about the tragic end of some of her sisters after they were caught, but she also felt anger and a deep resentment towards the poison sect in Nanjiang. In Pavilion Master Yin Qi's heart, she could not wait to kill all these people. However, she did not know what to do. Right now Zishuan court itself was in danger. She was only the palace master of Yinqi Palace. There were 3 palaces and 6 halls in Zishuan court. Even with Palace Master Yin Qi's strength, she was still so afraid of the poison sect in Nanjiang. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the people from the poison sect in Nanjiang were. They deserved their reputation. One day, the poison sect in Nanjiang will definitely be destroyed in our hands. Palace Master Yin Qi said coldly. At this moment, outside the eaves, a figure gradually emerged. The figure landed gently on the ground and turned around to look at the spring flower and autumn moon tower behind him. So it's the people from Zishuan court. If I remember correctly, the poison sect in Nanjiang's previous life finally achieved an explosive breakthrough, because they captured a large number of people from Zishuan court. At this moment, Li Zongjiu suddenly realized that these women from Zishuan court were natural nourishment for southern Xinjiang's poison cult. So why not? Killing a few people was nothing to southern Xinjiang's poison cult. If the people from the poison sect in Nanjiang were willing, they could even slaughter half of the world's people. The remaining half of the world's people would naturally become the slaves of the poison sect in Nanjiang. It seems that the poison sect in Nanjiang has already started to take action. I can't delay any longer. It's about time to start some actions. Li Zongjiu's eyes were also filled with cold light. In Nanjiang's previous life, the poison sect in Nanjiang killed countless people. In this life, their nature had not changed. Some time ago, they even almost killed Li Zongjiu's uncle. The hatred between them had probably been formed long ago. Chapter 571. However, when it came to cooperation, whoever lowered their head first would have already lost. Moreover, with Li Zongjiu's temper, it was impossible for him to beg Zishuan court to cooperate. Li Zongjiu's expression was grave. The threat of the poison cult in Nanjiang was no less than that of Qingyuan Villa. One of them had been accumulating and spreading the situation to a large extent. There were countless potential threats. However, the other one was the poison cult of the southern region. They were a great threat. Their appearance seemed to be able to destroy everything in this world. One of them revealed their fangs rhythmically and regularly, while the other started killing in all directions. Most of the time, they were never reasonable and killed without any scruples. In that case, Li Zhongjiu couldn't let these people continue to be so arrogant. Slaughtering the southern border's poison cult would be an act of boundless virtue. Now that Li Zhongjiu's wings were growing, he began to prepare to deal with these people. Li Zhongjiu went to the Great Delight Casino to check on the recent results. When he arrived, he saw that a pawn shop had been opened in a shop opposite the casino. The intention of opening a pawn shop opposite the casino was very obvious. Come here to borrow money to gamble. If you win the gamble, you can return the money. However, many people didn't know that the boss behind this pawn shop was the Queen of Nine Victories, Du Liani. The pawn shop's name was directly called Spring and Autumn Pawn Shop. It seems that the Pan family still has some tricks up their sleeves. Li Zhongjiu couldn't help but praise her in his heart. A small girl like her had already endured a lot of pain in the Pan family. Now that she had broken free, she would definitely have to put up a struggle. She directly cut into the business of the old boss. At the same time, she probably took away many of the old boss's new and old customers. Li Zhongjiu naturally welcomed Du Liani to join their Broad Joy Casino. Recently, our casino's revenue has been booming. We have also taken over the Sparrow Saint Casino. Now we have people there. The Pan family doesn't dare to make any moves, because we have opened some small gambling stalls near some of the Pan family's important properties. Taifai said. It could not be said that this move was not sinister. In fact, most of the time, it was done in this way. Usually, they would arrange some spies within the range of the hostile forces. Firstly, it was convenient for them to report information. Secondly, they could play a certain role in threatening the enemy at this critical moment. It's as if he's hiding a lot of time bombs around you, so you don't dare to act rashly. If you dare to send people to the Sparrow Saint Casino to cause trouble, Taifai will probably take action instantly and destroy some of the Pan family's shops. Everyone was doing business outside. If you don't let me do business, I won't let you do it either. As a result, the Pan family was extremely passive. The Pan family originally relied on the Ninth Prince, but recently, the Ninth Prince seemed to be doing something. It seemed that he didn't pay attention to the Pan family for a long time and didn't pass down any orders. In addition, they had heard about the Pan family before. Li Zhongjiu had caused a ruckus in the spring flowers and autumn moon some time ago. As a result, they didn't dare to make an enemy out of Li Zhongjiu at such a critical time. As long as this guy didn't do anything too excessive, they would let it go. They would endure it for the time being and wait for the situation to become clearer before making a decision. Now Li Zhongjiu and the Great Pleasure Casino could be considered as a small tyrant in the city. It was said that the Blue Tiger Gang, who was in the limelight recently, had to take a detour when they saw them. Many people had asked the Blue Tiger Gang to help them, hoping to gain some benefits from the Great Pleasure Casino. However, they were all rejected by the Blue Tiger Gang. What a joke! They didn't see the tragic situation when they fought with the Great Pleasure Casino. Pay attention to the recent movements in the city. If there are any strange forces entering the city, immediately inform me. If you can't find me, just leave a message in the Heavenly Star Medicine manner. Li Zhongjiu said. In the next period of time, he would enter the Genius Pavilion to make a final push. Of course, that wasn't a big problem, but the poison sect of the southern region was a potential threat that he had to guard against. Yes, young master, Taifai said. You two have to cooperate with each other. I don't care about other things. No matter how many methods you use, how much money you spend, how many people you kill, it doesn't matter. If there's trouble that you can't solve, just come to me. Who did you say your enemy was last time? Li Zhongjiu asked. Du Liani's eyes were still filled with hesitation and concealment, because she was worried that Li Zhongjiu would not take her matter to heart. If that was the case, then everything she had done now would be in vain. She might even be abandoned by Li Zhongjiu and be hunted down by the Pan family. That would be a real tragedy. The son of the Imperial Guard commander Xiao Tiance. Hearing Li Zongjiu's question, Du Liani hurriedly said. She was even a little nervous. But now it seemed that Li Zongjiu was indeed a man of his words. Okay, I know. Li Zongjiu nodded. Help me take the elixirs here, and give them to Wang Ding. There are a total of 1,500 level 3 spirit strengthening elixirs in this bottle. Let him use them well. Li Zongjiu said lightly. Taifai, who was originally full of confidence, heard that there were so many elixirs in the storage ring. His hands trembled violently. This so many elixirs. Taifai didn't know where Li Zongjiu got so many elixirs. But the price of these elixirs was already sky high. Even some big families couldn't take out so many elixirs at once. These were thousands of elixirs. They could easily build a powerful army. Du Liani, who was standing aside, was very surprised when she saw this scene. She already knew that Wang Ding came to join them. Since he had already joined the Boyue casino, he was one of them, so Taifai didn't hide it. But Du Liani also knew that Wang Ding had just joined. Even if Li Zongjiu trusted Wang Ding's words, he shouldn't have given so many elixirs to Wang Ding so quickly. There were 1,500 elixirs, and they were all level 3 elixirs. Could this be Li Zongjiu's charm? In fact, even Du Liani didn't know why she trusted Li Zongjiu, so she did such a thing and pinned all her hopes of revenge on Li Zongjiu. But it was also because Li Zongjiu never doubted the people under him. Or perhaps, Li Zongjiu didn't care about what would happen to these people. If they were obedient, it would be good. But if they were disobedient, he would kill them directly. Chapter 572. Li Zongjiu didn't care if you rebelled or not. And he didn't care what you were thinking. He just wanted you to complete what Li Zongjiu asked you to do. Nowadays, it wasn't strange for people to have their own thoughts. After all, they were humans, not meta-beasts. Even meta-beasts had their own thoughts. It was hard to say. However, it didn't matter if you had your own thoughts. If you couldn't complete what Li Zongjiu asked you to do, you would be useless. Li Zongjiu would eliminate you without hesitation. That was why Li Zongjiu let them do what they wanted. If Li Zongjiu continued to stay here, he would probably bring pressure to them. As for the compensation, it wasn't for Wang Ding. The elixirs in their hands were enough for them to use. It all depended on what these people needed. No matter how much money they had, it would not be as effective as this pill. As for Xiao Tiance, he would deal with him when he was free. The most important thing now was to pass through the 14th level. Otherwise, that mysterious girl would probably pester him relentlessly. However, a lack of cultivation level was a lack of cultivation level. No matter how much time he spent to break through, it would be of no use. When Li Zongjiu returned to the front of the Genius Tower, he realized that there was no movement at all on the 14th floor. It was obvious that the girl wanted to break through, but the effect wasn't obvious. Li Zongjiu entered the Genius Tower again. Li Zongjiu had only appeared for a few days, but he had already offended several groups of people. Bin Qingyi had also gotten himself into a lot of trouble. First of all, it was Lei Gong, who was brought back. Ever since he was defeated by Li Zongjiu, Lei Gong had been seriously injured when he returned. He had to recuperate for a full 7 days before he was able to fully recover from his injuries. Fortunately, this pharmacist was also a top existence in Qingyuan Villa. The opponent that Thunder District Mistress met this time around is not simple. Other than the injuries on the surface, there are also many hidden forces hidden within her body. If not for my good eyesight, I reckon that these hidden forces would have completely shattered Thunder District Mistress's meridians. An old man in a green robe said. Lei Gong was lying on the bed with a pale face. Thank you, Huang Yaosher. Lei Gong said. Huang Yaosher was one of the top pharmacists in Qingyuan Villa, Huang Jingxia. It was rumored that he could revive the dead. He used to travel among the people, saving the dying and helping the injured. Later on, he was recruited by the villa owner of Qingyuan Villa, studying all kinds of medicine books and treating these people at the same time. In addition, he could also invent some formulas and medicinal herbs. Through this method, he could also publish some of the formulas that could be used to treat diseases. This way more people could be saved. Huang Zhengxia's yuan power cultivation was ordinary. However, his medical skills were relatively strong. There were probably not many people in the world who could compare to him. At the same time, he was also good at acupuncture and was obsessed with it. This is what I should do. Qingyuan Villa doesn't keep idle people, Huang Zhengxia said. If Huang Yaosher has any requests in the future, just let me know. Lei Gong said. Huang Zhengxia had saved his life. Lei Gong was a proud person and naturally didn't want to owe him a favor. Don't worry. If there is, I'll definitely come and ask for your help, Huang Zhengxia said as he stood up and packed up his medicine box. Li Zongjiu, next time, I'll definitely tear you into pieces. Just as Lei Gong was speaking, he suddenly felt a wave of hot air assaulting his ear. In an instant, his ear was blown off with a loud bang. Lei Gong's entire ear was destroyed. It was a pity that Huang Zhengxia was already far away. On Lei Gong's ear, it was obviously a hidden force left behind by Li Zongjiu. However, who would have thought that this hidden force would actually deceive Huang Zhengxia? Huang Zhengxia only checked most of the joints in Lei Gong's body. He didn't expect such a situation. There was actually a hidden force hidden in the ear. Fortunately, the force wasn't too strong. Therefore, it only blew off one ear and didn't leave any fatal injuries. He was relatively lucky. If this force landed on his neck and blew it off, he would probably be dead. However, Huang Zhengxia had already thoroughly checked these fatal parts. Even if there were any, Huang Zhengxia would directly clean them. On the other hand, places like the ear were insignificant and didn't need to be checked. There were so many parts on the human body. If he were to check them one by one, Huang Zhengxia would probably collapse here today. He was already old, so it would be very difficult for Huang Zhengxia to make such a big expenditure. This was a very challenging task. Lei Gong's hatred for Li Zongjiu deepened. Damn it. Just you wait. Sooner or later, I will kill you. Lei Gong's hand directly hammered the bed, making a dong 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 sound. The maid outside the door heard this and hurriedly came in. When she saw that Lei Gong was covered in blood, she immediately hurried over to help Lei Gong deal with it. In a short period of time, Lei Gong wouldn't be able to affect Li Zongjiu. Firstly, the injuries on his body hadn't fully healed. Secondly, the Thunderfall sword, the Thunderfall blade, and even the blade case with the power of lightning had been taken away by Li Zongjiu. There was no need for him to go to the extreme Yin pool anymore. There was also no need for him to go to the Blackwater forest. The sword had been snatched away by someone else. What was the point of going there? Furthermore, the ninth prince, who had been taught a lesson by Li Zongjiu in the Sacred Flame Royal City, had learned from his humiliation and made use of this opportunity to break through to the level of a grade 2 Yuan monarch. The bright moon Jinyuan Qi in his body continued to circulate. The ninth prince's temperament gradually became extremely feminine. Even his body was gradually becoming slender. The bright moon Jinyuan Qi has increased my feminine strength. Although this looks a little strange, a man of great ambition doesn't care about trifles. The ninth prince's eyes flickered with a cold light. He was an extremely ruthless person. As a man, he had obviously been surrounded by beautiful women, but he had never been tempted. His heart was only filled with ambition and ambition. When the ninth prince said he didn't care about trifles, he was referring to the thing below his crotch. As his bright moon Jinyuan Qi broke through, it actually became smaller and smaller. However, the ninth prince didn't care, because he didn't need it. Chapter 573. In the military camp, the camp of the city guards. Outside the Sacred Flame Royal City, there were figures of the city guard army. In the south of the city, in the tent of the deputy commander of the city guards. Father, please allow me to lead the troops immediately. I want to tear that brat into pieces. Guan Hoyang pleaded in front of his father. However, Guan Shifei shook his head and rejected the offer firmly. We can't touch Li Zongjiu for the time being. Why, father? That brat is just a student of the small Heavenly Dawn medicine mansion. What kind of background could he have? I've already contacted the Shi family, one of the 4 great families. With the young master of the Shi family as a witness, that brat will definitely die. This matter isn't as simple as you think. And that Shi Baoshan, You better stay away from him. The Shi family is already in a mess, yet they still want to meddle in the arms business. If the emperor finds out about this, both of us will lose our heads. Guan Shifei said in a deep voice. At this moment, Guan Shifei's heart was in a mess. His son was beaten up, but that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that the person who beat him up was Li Zhongjie. After the conflict between Guan Houyang and Li Zhongjie, Guan Shifei received a warning from the fifth prince. The warning was that he was not allowed to take revenge on Li Zhongjie. Guan Shifei didn't tell anyone about this. Since father isn't willing to give me the authority, I'll think of a way myself. No matter what, if I don't take revenge, what will the army think of me? Guan Houyang didn't have much ability, but he cared a lot about his reputation. He stood up, clenched his fists, and roared at Guan Shifei. Guan Shifei saw that his son dared to talk back to him and slapped him. Slap! The slap was crisp and clear. You brat, do you think I'm dead? That Li Zhongjie is someone that the fifth prince has his eyes on. If you dare to mess around, I will directly chop off your legs. Guan Shifei sent Guan Houyang flying with a slap. Guan Houyang, who was lying on the ground, looked at Guan Shifei, who had slapped him. His eyes were filled with unwillingness, but he listened to Guan Shifei's words. The fifth prince. His entire body quivered. Fifth prince. Dad. Is this Li Zhongjie, one of the fifth prince's men? I'm not sure yet, but the fifth prince did sound out Li Zhongjie some time ago. It seems that the fifth prince thinks highly of Li Zhongjie. It's hard to say. Don't worry, I think Li Zhongjie is an arrogant and unruly person. If the fifth prince is tired of Li Zhongjie, I will personally chop off that brat's head. Guan Shifei's hands were naturally stained with blood. At this moment, when he said these words, he released a murderous aura. Even Guan Houyang, who was beside him, could feel the evil aura coming from Guan Shifei. It was only now that Guan Houyang remembered. His father was the butcher of tens of thousands of people on the battlefield. After that, he was transferred to the city guard army to assume the position of deputy commander. Although it could be said that he had been in a semi-retired state for many years now, in reality, he was still a sharp and shiny long blade that had been hidden for a long time. If it was necessary, he would definitely create a storm of blood when he made his move. Just because this fierce tiger was in a deep slumber, he could not let his guard down and think that the latter was harmless. In fact, such a person was simply hiding his strength and biding his time. In the darkness, he sharpened his teeth and waited for the right opportunity to kill. Guan Shifei had been waiting for a long time now. Among the 7 camps, there were already 3 battalion commanders standing beside Guan Shifei. He only needed to wait for the old commander to retire. Then he would be able to stand out in the next round of competition and become the commander of the city guard army. He would be in charge of a regiment. The reason why Guan Shifei was so nervous and hated Li Zhongjie to the bone was because Li Zhongjie's subordinates were actually cooperating with Wang Ding. This was not a good thing for Guan Shifei. Now that Guan Shifei had chosen to rely on the fifth prince's attitude was unclear. Even until now, he still hadn't given a definite answer. It was clear that the fifth prince knew Guan Shifei's goal. He just wanted to borrow the fifth prince's influence. Therefore, the fifth prince had seen through everything clearly. He did not immediately agree. Now that Wang Ding had come to disrupt the situation, it was obvious that this would affect Guan Shifei's power to a certain extent. If the fifth prince had taken a fancy to Li Zhongjie, he would definitely support Wang Ding to ascend the throne. Perhaps before Guan Shifei became the regiment commander, he would have already been taken down by Wang Ding. Currently, the Tusk battalion's strength was average, but their spirit was definitely a clear stream in the city guard army. The people recruited below were all people who had slowly climbed up from the bottom. Therefore, in the face of danger, they would be even more united. With Guan Shifei's insight, Wang Ding's appearance at this time meant that he was definitely up to something. These days, you should pay more attention to Wang Ding's movements, Guan Shifei said. Wang Ding, that useless battalion commander? Guan Houyang did not understand what this matter had to do with Wang Ding. Why was it related to Wang Ding again? You still don't know, but Li Zhongjie and Wang Ding seem to be working closely together. Guan Shifei didn't know about the matter of the ninth prince being beaten. However, Guan Shifei's intelligence network was still able to find out about the relationship between Wang Ding and Li Zhongjie. There were already signs of it. Now that he looked at Li Zhongjie, there was an even bigger problem. Even the fifth prince had come forward to protect Li Zhongjie. Who exactly was he? I see. Since Wang Ding is related to Li Zhongjie, father, don't worry. I will definitely not let Wang Ding have an easy time. Guan Hoyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Since Li Zhongjie could not be touched, but it did not say that Wang Ding could not be touched. Now, as long as he could deal with anything related to Li Zhongjie, their hearts were also extremely carefree. He would definitely not let Li Zhongjie have an easy time. The Tusk Battalion was stationed near the South City Gate. After making a trip to deal with the ninth prince, Wang Ding, who had returned, was initially frightened. However, he quickly took the 5 soul essence elixir that Li Zhongjie had given him and took it. After all, in front of such an elixir, no one would be able to resist it. It took Wang Ding 2 whole days to refine the elixir. Wang Ding, who had taken the elixir, had also tasted the sweetness of the elixir. In these short 2 days, Wang Ding had also tasted the sweetness. In just 2 short days, his cultivation level had actually jumped by 2 levels. Now Wang Ding's cultivation level had directly reached the 9th grade origin ancestor realm. It should be known that Wang Ding had been stuck in this realm for a whole year. He had not been able to make any progress. He had thought that there was a problem with his talent, or the cultivation method was wrong. Under such circumstances, he had taken the elixir that Li Zhongjie had given him. It directly caused the elemental energy in his body to be in a state of great explosion. Chapter 574. At this moment, Wang Ding was beaming with joy as he led everyone to a night drill. This was simply a display of exuberant energy, which made the people under him suffer unspeakably. The few deputy battalion commanders under Wang Ding were also complaining incessantly. Liu Pei was considered to be more energetic and not afraid of trouble. However, when he saw Wang Ding's exuberant energy today, he could not help but be surprised. Did you take some medicine? How can you be so fierce? Liu Pei understood Wang Ding. Their hometowns were right next to each other, very close to each other. Now that he saw Wang Ding coming out to train so desperately, there must be something joyous going on. Wang Ding was very showy as he spun around a few times on the spot. Look for yourself. You guys over there, don't be lazy. Do 600 squats on a 250 kilograms stone block. Why do I see you squatting on the ground and counting ants? Liu Pei circled around the cauldron and realized that the cauldron's aura was extremely dense, as heavy as a mountain. Such a scene was not common, and he could even see that the cauldron's aura seemed to be on the verge of erupting. Liu Pei's eyes immediately widened. You. Liu Pei pointed at Wang Ding and stuttered. At this moment, his eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. He could not believe that the scene in front of him was actually real. Naturally, Wang Ding was so proud of himself that his tail was raised to the sky. He could not wait for the passers-by to come up and praise him. Liu Pei himself was also very excited. One should know that Liu Pei had followed Wang Ding for many years, because Liu Pei's character was very straightforward. Sometimes he would not even care about who the other party was. If there was a problem, he would directly rush up and confront it on the spot. Therefore, it was very difficult for such a person to mix well in the army. His strength was not bad, and his ability to do things was not bad. However, his temper was not good, and he did not know how to flatter his superiors. Therefore, in the end, he was directly transferred to the Tusk Battalion, which had no future at all. Do some hard work. Although in everyone's eyes, he was an arrogant and despotic deputy battalion commander, with a large number of troops in his hands, no matter where he went. In reality, such a position meant that if one was unwilling to become the claws and fangs of others, they would only be continuously pushed aside. Liu Pei was considered lucky to fall into Wang Ding's hands. At least Wang Ding could help him block some of the attacks. If anything happened, Liu Pei and Wang Ding would take care of it. Therefore, there wouldn't be any problems. When Wang Ding fell, Liu Pei's good days would come to an end. The current situation was that most of the people who were upright and didn't want to hook up with other people were assigned to the Tusk Battalion. Therefore, the Tusk Battalion was basically a hopeless place. However, if Wang Ding couldn't keep his position as a battalion commander, for example, if he was robbed by the wind-chasing battalion, then the Tusk Battalion would end up like those people before. There would no longer be a peaceful place in the army. Now Wang Ding was not too pure, because he was already in a state of cooperation with the Great Pleasure Casino. In the future, he would be under Li Zongjio's control. However, Li Zongjio was an outsider after all. At this moment, it seemed that following Li Zongjio was not a loss. In fact, Wang Ding was not a pedantic person. If there was a good place to go, he would naturally go. However, with so many people following him, if he accidentally found a bad boss, then wouldn't he be done for? Whether he died or not was a small matter, but the brothers under him could not be sacrificed in vain. As for Li Zongjio, to be honest, Wang Ding didn't think so much at that time. The only thing that caught his eye was the domineering aura that Li Zongjio exuded. Just this point alone made Wang Ding want to follow Li Zongjio. Later on, he investigated Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio was just a village boy from Wuxia city. How could he have such great power? Later on, he found out that Li Zongjio exuded this kind of aura. At that time, Wang Ding thought that if Li Zongjio was able to get through the current crisis, it would be a pretty good thing. If he relied on Li Zongjio in the future, he might be able to escape from Royal City unscathed. But when he saw Li Zongjio beat up the 9th prince, Wang Ding understood. Now, he had to rely on Li Zongjio for the rest of his life. There was no room for retreat. If he wanted to live, the only way was to stand on Li Zongjio's side and wait for Li Zongjio to finish off the 9th prince. Stop drooling over here. Hurry up and go train. You're going to lift 3,000 pounds today. Wang Ding said. A kick landed on Lu Pei's body and sent him flying. Lu Pei rolled on the ground and crashed into a stone block. It happened to be the 3,000 gene stone block. The onlookers at the side burst into laughter. The scene in front of them was really comical. What are you laughing at? Get over here. Go hell's rope. Crawl back and forth 20 times. No, boss. Stop talking nonsense. With Lu Pei's sudden suppression, the people in front of him, who were originally smiling, instantly turned into frowns. At the same time, they kept their smiles and began to immerse themselves in the training. Wang Ding was very satisfied with this busy process. Only by constantly training and becoming stronger would he be able to have a better future. Even if he did not become a soldier in the future, with his strong body, no matter where he went, he would still be able to make a living. Just as Wang Ding was watching these people train, a messenger came to report that a person named Tai-Fi had come to see him. Tai-Fi? Old Tai, why is this guy here? Could it be that something happened to the young master? Wang Ding thought in his heart, and then waved his hand. Quickly invite him in. Tai-Fi was invited into Wang Ding's tent. When Wang Ding saw Tai-Fi enter, he revealed a smile. Old Tai, what's the matter that requires you to make a trip here personally? It could be said that Tai-Fei had almost died in Wang Ding's hands when he came to seize the Great Delight Casino. However, in the blink of an eye, the two of them had become such close friends and brothers. It was all because of the relationship between the two of them. One had to admit that the world was indeed unpredictable. The young master asked me to bring you something, Tai-Fi said mysteriously. To be able to befriend this city guard battalion commander was an opportunity that he cherished very much. During this process, Tai-Fi naturally wanted to have a good relationship with Wang Ding. After all, they needed each other. Oh, what is it? A light flashed in Wang Ding's eyes. Looking at Tai-Fei's mysterious expression, he could not help but guess in his heart. Could it be that he was sending a medicinal pill to him at this time? However, even if it was really an elixir, it had only been a few days. If he wanted to refine this elixir, there shouldn't be many of them. But for Wang Ding, even if there was only one elixir, he would be grateful to Li Zongjio, because Li Zongjio was a man of his words. Chapter 575. Tai-Fi placed a storage ring on the table. Why don't you take a look at it yourself? After he finished speaking, he picked up the teapot beside him and took a sip. Wang Ding looked at him suspiciously. Then he reached out and took the storage ring on the table. He injected his mental energy into it and immediately saw the contents of the ring clearly. However, when Wang Ding saw it clearly, he even thought that his eyes were blurred. He couldn't feel the existence of these things in front of him at all, because he was already muddle-headed. Is there something wrong with my eyes? When Wang Ding saw this scene, he couldn't believe his eyes. He wondered if there was something wrong with his eyes, or if there was something wrong with his brain. He couldn't believe that he was seeing things wrongly. However, when he saw Tai-Fai's half-smile, Wang Ding confirmed it again. This time around, Wang Ding was able to personally verify that these medicinal pills were genuine. Every single one of them emitted a vigorous aura. Judging from the quality of these medicinal pills, they definitely did not come from the hands of an ordinary alchemist. These, don't tell me that you guys have robbed some elixir store? Wang Ding's breathing became hurried. Even though he had just broken through, it wasn't as intense as grabbing such a large amount of resources in his hands. If Wang Ding was willing, he could take these elixirs and leave. These elixirs alone were enough for him to not have to worry about the rest of his life. Of course, Wang Ding wouldn't do such a thing. However, if Li Zongjio and the rest really robbed this elixir store, it would be troublesome. Which elixir store in Sacred Flame Royal City didn't have a backer? The status of an alchemist was different from that of a blacksmith. The status of an alchemist was extraordinary. Moreover, there would be an alchemist union to manage them and protect their rights. They weren't people that could be touched just because one wanted to. Even the friends of an alchemist were also alchemists. If one offended one, it was equivalent to offending a group. This was much more troublesome than destroying a casino or a gang. After all, many experts were unwilling to help a gambler or a gang leader. However, they would be more than happy to help an alchemist. It was extremely rare to be able to gain the favor of an alchemist. That was why Wang Ding was so worried. Don't worry, we aren't that stupid. Don't you know that the young master is a 5th-grade alchemist? Tai-Fai shook his head and said. Wang Ding also remembered that Li Zongjio was a real imperial alchemist. Anyone who could obtain this status couldn't be an ordinary person. I know this, but this is too fucking awesome. Wang Ding finally spat out these words. It was simply too shocking. Wang Ding simply couldn't find any other words to describe his feelings. Here are 1,500 3rd-grade pills. The young master said that you are free to use them however you want. Tai-Fai stood up and said. Wang Ding listened, and his heart was extremely excited. What kind of trust was this? To hand over 1,500 3rd-grade pills to him, without saying a single word. Moreover, before this, he directly gave him a 5th-grade pill. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take for him to make a real breakthrough in Nanjing Street. At this moment, in front of Li Zongjio's gift of pills, he easily broke the shackles of many years. It also gave Wang Ding the capital to work hard in his future career. Wang Ding will never forget the young master's kindness. Wang Ding thumped his chest and said. His eyes were gushing with a flame of loyalty. Even if Li Zongjio really had ulterior motives, people with discerning eyes could see that they were poor. What could they possibly want? They had already come to this point. With the support of Li Zongjio and Tai-Fai, Wang Ding completely saw hope and confidence. With such a large amount of wealth in his hands, his heart was naturally excited. However, as the dignified battalion commander of the Tusk Battalion, it was not a problem to protect the wealth in his hands. In a while the barracks will open. Why don't you stay and drink? Wang Ding said. No, I have other things to do. I have to take care of the business of the casino. I can't leave now. Next time, when you are on vacation, let's have a good drink. Tai-Fai said. Drinking was forbidden in the barracks. Of course, with Wang Ding's identity, it was not a problem for him to drink a small amount. Therefore, this matter was not urgent. After the two talked for a while, Tai-Fai took the lead and left. After a period of excitement, Wang Ding's heart gradually calmed down. After he calmed down and made arrangements, he found some problems in his heart. No matter how much he got in his hands, no matter how many benefits he got, he always had to pay back. He would never take advantage of others. There was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. Wang Ding understood this in his heart. He sat there quietly and pondered for a while. In the end, he called Liu Pei and some other people in. The 1,500 grade 3 medicinal pills in Wang Ding's hands were enough for him to train his men into elites in the city guard army. However, there was also a problem. That was, there were more or less spies from other battalions among the people under his command. Of course, this was not a serious matter. At most, they would just keep an eye on his movements. It would not cause too much of an impact. In fact, these people in the upper echelons were well aware of the situation of many people. However, if you got rid of one of them, they would send another one or two. There was no need to waste time on this. A man's life and death are fated. This time, I, Wang Ding, will fight a battle to turn my life around. Wang Ding clenched his fists. At this moment, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity was placed in front of him. For Wang Ding, this was a chance to change his fate. He would not hesitate or hold back. He would go all out. Time flew. A month's time passed in the blink of an eye. Even during this period of time, Sacred Flame Royal City had never been peaceful. Moreover, it seemed that something even more serious had happened. First of all, the officials announced the cause of death of the commander of the Special Envoy Department, Han Wuxia, and the others. They were killed by a group of insect masters who were good at using poison. Insect masters, a profession that could control some strange insects. People in this profession stayed away from them. However, the range of activities of these insect masters had gradually spread to Sacred Flame Royal City recently. It was even said that these insect masters had continuously invaded several cities. The current situation was precarious. Chapter 576. Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Genius Tower. In front of the Genius Tower, a woman in green stood there and looked up at the tower. Behind her, there were even more people who were watching from the back. Above the Genius Tower, they were witnessing the emergence of a miracle. According to the previous speed, we should be able to see the result by today, someone in the crowd said. At this moment, even Morong Jian was standing in the crowd looking up. Currently, the overlord of the Genius Tower, Li Zhongjiu's identity was known to everyone. Because at this moment, the girl standing at the front had already broken everyone's previous guesses. This girl was the one who stopped Li Zhongjiu that day. Li Zhongjiu roughly knew that this girl's identity was extraordinary, but he didn't know her specific situation. The majority of the people stood at the back, because they knew that with their strength, they didn't have the qualifications to stand side by side with this girl. Even Guosi stood at the back of the crowd, looking at everything in front of him. Li Zhongjiu. It's Li Zhongjiu again. Fuck his second uncle. Guosi was a person who wanted to be a star very much. He wanted everyone's eyes to be focused on him. But these days, Li Zhongjiu's actions had already taken the limelight. Now, everyone in the academy was talking about Li Zhongjiu's glorious history. Even the matter of Guosi and the others being beaten up by Li Zhongjiu at the entrance of the library was gradually dug up by people, and it became more and more exaggerated. Guosi was almost treated as a villain, which made Guosi quite angry in his heart. However, public opinion was powerful, and it was indeed true that he was beaten up. This point was hard to deny. Now, everyone's eyes were on Li Zhongjiu, not only in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, but also in the other academies, and even in the alchemist world. Li Zhongjiu's name gradually became famous. Because now, Li Zhongjiu was also challenging the last obstacle of the 14th floor. Once it was conquered, some of the older mentors would enter and gain more things. This genius pavilion would also become a place where people would come in an endless stream. Many experts would come to visit in order to comprehend the alchemy insights in this genius pavilion. Although after getting older, one's potential would decline and would be more rejected by the Genius Tower. This didn't prevent one from learning more things inside. It's true that one's potential was insufficient. After getting older, the only thing that could compare with these younger generations was their own experience. Most of the people in front of them were here to inquire for their family elders. If the 15th floor could be opened, then even a fifth-grade alchemist would have a rich harvest. After all, this was a place for young people to train. If they saw this group of very old fellows, and these young people crowded together in a room, wouldn't it be shameful if word of it spread everywhere? Therefore, they couldn't come because of their face. But if the 15th floor was opened, it would be different. After reaching the 15th floor, it could be regarded as entering a new level and domain. 7 was the limit. The 7th floor and the 14th floor were both very big hurdles. Therefore, even the green-clothed woman chose to give up. After all, she hadn't been able to solve this difficult problem in the past month. From this point, it was clear. This was the gap between realms. Although her mental power had reached this level, she couldn't deepen it too much and have more effects. The only thing he could do was to continue accumulating experience. At the same time, he could also raise his own realm through this comprehension. He had to have some sort of comprehension in order to stand out from such a difficult situation. She wouldn't be able to do it in a short period of time, because Li Zongjio's rate of improvement was simply unimaginable. This guy, could it be that he's the reincarnation of a 7th-grade alchemist? The woman in green couldn't help but purse her lips. His pair of shiny black eyes also emitted a trace of intelligence. The brilliance in his eyes made his body shine even brighter. Many pairs of eyes were also on this woman, but she was completely unaware of it. In other words, she directly ignored them. It was this kind of arrogance that was present in his body. Her aura was very strong, so the people behind her didn't dare to get close. Do Linger's aura is too strong. Do Linger's identity is something that even our Morong family cannot find out. Father even specifically told me not to get too close to her. But now, it seems that even if I wanted to get close to her, it would be harder than ascending to heaven. Morong Jian looked at the woman in front of him from behind. This woman with an incomparably mysterious identity. Even if they flipped through the ancient records in the palace, and even asked the Rain Pavilion to investigate, they still couldn't find any information about Do Linger. This was a strange thing in the world. The Morong family that Morong Jian belonged to was considered to have a certain status in Royal City. With Prince Morong's strength, the resources from all directions were under his control. However, even under such circumstances, they still couldn't find out Do Linger's true identity. If Do Linger didn't appear out of thin air, then it meant that Do Linger's background was so strong that even the Morong clan couldn't touch her. Therefore, Morong Jian was very obedient and didn't offend Do Linger too much. In addition, he didn't like Do Linger's temperament. However, if there was a way to subdue Do Linger, no man would be willing to refuse. Right now, almost all the experts on the alchemist ranking have gathered. If Li Zongjio can walk out of the 15th level, he will be ranked first on the alchemist ranking. Sima Chun glanced at the crowd. There were many girls here waiting for a miracle. Now they wanted to see if Li Zongjio could succeed. Yao Lei, did you really come with Li Zongjio? Are you also from Kuan province? In the middle, there was a group of girls surrounding each other and chattering away. In the middle of this group of girls, one could see a figure with an extremely cold expression. However, this was only on the surface. In fact, Yao Lei was a little nervous and shy in the face of these people's enthusiasm. When these girls found out that she had participated in the same exam as Li Zongjio and came from the same place, these girls became abnormally excited. It was a pity that Yao Lei didn't know much about Li Zongjio. However, if it wasn't for Li Zongjio teaching her the mental cultivation method, Yao Lei wouldn't have been able to prove her talent with her strength in the second round in just a month. In the end, she was accepted by the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. She became the first person to successfully enter the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor after the second round of the exam. After all, in just a month, it was very difficult to have a breakthrough and change, unless you had a great opportunity. Under such circumstances, there was a chance. Obviously, these girls were very interested in Li Zongjio. Yao Lei didn't know much, and she knew that she couldn't tell these girls that Li Zongjio lived in the manor that she sold to him. Otherwise, there would be peeping incidents every 2 to 3 days. After coming into contact with these girls, Yao Lei thoroughly understood how terrifying it was when girls went crazy. Chapter 577. It's here. The lights are on. Fuck, he made it through. Everyone cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. Douling Er's eyes narrowed into slits, appearing especially dazzling under the lights. This guy actually ran away. Douling Er's mental strength was quite strong. She could clearly feel that Li Zhongjiu's figure had disappeared from the Genius Tower. No one knew how Li Zhongjiu did it. Li Zhongjiu, you took away a very hot potato. Douling Er couldn't help but sigh in her heart. From now on, if Li Zhongjiu wasn't willing to hand over the item, there was only one outcome waiting for him. Since you don't want to make a deal with me, then I'll come and save you when you've suffered enough. Douling Er also turned around and walked away, disappearing from the square. There was no trace of him. Douling Er was also very clear in her heart that Li Zhongjiu would be targeted by many forces. Even the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor wouldn't dare to interfere with some of these forces. Some of the people in the crowd also gradually dispersed. The Universe 9 revolving needle was an extremely rare acupuncture technique. Since the appearance of this technique, a large number of medical families had emerged. They were all chasing after this set of acupuncture techniques. Later on, they gradually understood the knack of it and knew that this set of acupuncture techniques was in the Genius Tower. However, despite knowing that there was a treasure here, no one could obtain it. What a sad thing it was. The last obstacle on the 14th floor of the Genius Tower was this supreme acupuncture technique. Now, almost half of the eyes in the Sacred Flame Royal City were staring at this place, waiting for the appearance of the Universe 9 revolving needle. Who would have thought that it would be obtained by an unknown brat? These people wouldn't let such a valuable item go to waste just like that. Although Li Zhongjiu's strength wasn't bad, it was impossible for him to withstand the coercion of these forces by himself. The people below the Genius Tower had already seen the lantern on the 15th floor light up. They knew that this person had already passed. However, they didn't expect that Li Zhongjiu's figure wouldn't appear for a long time. Later on, someone went up to check and found that Li Zhongjiu's figure had already disappeared. So many people had to wait bitterly for half a day. When did Li Zhongjiu disappear from the Genius Tower? He's so fucking awesome. He flew away without even seeing him. How did he do it? Sure enough, it's true that the real person doesn't show himself. He actually disappeared just like that. We didn't even see him in the capital. When Li Zhongjiu's reputation gradually appeared, many people wanted to see who Li Zhongjiu was. However, they found out that it was already too late. Previously, Li Zhongjiu also showed his face in public. However, it was extremely difficult to make friends with him now, because you couldn't even find him. In the library, when Li Zhongjiu's figure appeared, he saw the library elder leisurely lying on the rattan chair. There was a feather duster in his hand that was gently fiddling with it. What's wrong? Did you encounter some trouble? The corner of the library elder's mouth curled into a smile. Finally, this brat came to ask him for help. Based on the elder's experience, it would be extremely difficult for Li Zhongjiu to come and ask for help. That's why the elder was so smug. When Li Zhongjiu saw that the elder seemed to have come prepared, the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. Old man, how many years have you lived? If you want to find trouble with me, you will probably have to continue cultivating for another 2,000 years. It's not my trouble, it's yours. Help me deliver something to a person called Alchemist Nan Sheng in the Blackwater Forest. Li Zhongjiu handed over the long black bag to the elder in front of him. When the old man saw this scene, he stood up with a thump. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. He even looked at Li Zhongjiu in disbelief. This is the thing there? Even the elder had only heard of the thing hidden on the 14th floor of the Genius Tower. He had never seen it before. Now that he saw Li Zhongjiu take it out, he was shocked. He guessed that if Li Zhongjiu was smart, he would definitely come to him for help. However, he didn't expect that Li Zhongjiu would directly entrust this thing to him. One must know that this thing was extremely precious. Countless forces wanted to get their hands on it. Now that it was in front of him, with his strength, he was completely confident that he could snatch it away and sell it for a good price. He might even be able to exchange it for an elixir that could heal him. However, the old man felt that it was beneath him to do so, However, Li Zongjio's unhesitant trust touched the elder's heart. In this complicated society, trust between people was precious. "Aren't you afraid that I will take this and run away?" The elder took it but didn't open it. Although he had heard of the thing inside, and was interested in it, it didn't mean that the elder would casually pry into it. Since Li Zongjio had handed this thing to him, he would just give it to him as it was. "You saw it a few days ago, right? Even if you are a peak Yuan monarch, it will be difficult for you to escape from my pursuit. However, if I make a move, there will definitely be some trouble," Li Zongjio said. Upon hearing Li Zongjio's words, the elder was shocked. What Li Zongjio had said a few days ago was that he had destroyed the clone of a Yuan monarch powerhouse. To be able to do so was definitely not the achievement of a teenager. Therefore, Li Zongjio himself had endless secrets. His potential and strength were undeniably powerful. He actually knew that the elder was spying on him in secret. This was also a very strange thing for the elder. This meant that Li Zongjio's senses were much stronger than he had imagined. However, the elder still didn't believe that Luo Yunyang had chased after him. Everyone had confidence in themselves. No one would admit that they were inferior to someone else. That's not right. The old man's thoughts raced at this moment. When he saw Li Zongjio's incomparably confident expression, he understood in his heart that Li Zongjio's goal was not to be afraid of those who had designs on him. Instead, he wanted to play with these people slowly. This was why he was able to delay those who wanted to obtain the second half of the 9 Revolutions universe needle. Because he was able to deliver this item smoothly. "Good lad, can you hold on? These guys aren't small fries like the previous ones. They are truly powerful and courageous." Just as the elder was about to teach Li Zongjio a lesson, he looked up and realized that Li Zongjio's figure had already disappeared without a trace. "Fuck, this lad is really something. When did he leave?" Even the old man was shocked by Li Zongjio's actions. Li Zongjio was indeed powerful. He had actually disappeared in an instant. Even the elder couldn't sense it. This surprised the elder. "Looks like my old bones need some exercise too." The elder twisted his body and walked out of the library. On the way out, he casually grabbed a teacher from the academy. "I'm going out for a few days. During this time, you'd better look after the library." The teacher who was caught didn't even have time to react. Who dared to order him around so boldly? However, when he heard the words library, he looked up and saw the elder's gloomy face. Immediately he shuddered. "Yes, Elder Gu." Then, Elder Gu's figure disappeared from the spot and left the sacred flame royal city. On the other side, Li Zongjio had just walked out of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor when he realized that there were at least 3 groups of people following him. They are really looking for something in their coffins. Courting death. Li Zongjio sneered in his heart. Then, he led the 3 groups of people and walked towards the small path in the city. Chapter 578. The Sacred Flame Royal City had a population of over 8 million. Among the many cities, it was definitely a giant existence. In such a city, except for some places where people could be seen everywhere, most of the other places were less populated. Even if the houses and the like had been renovated, it could still be seen that it was a relatively barren place. It was not that everyone in the Sacred Flame Royal City was rich. If that was the case, there would be no way to differentiate between classes. Li Zongjio had only walked a few intersections away from the main road when his surroundings were already pitch black, as if there was no light or fire. There were only a few farms in the surroundings. These places were so poor that there was no profit to be made. Even the traces of the envoys were very rare. These envoys naturally would not wake up early if there was no profit to be made. If they could not make some profit in the area they were in, then there was no need to continue staying here. They were all thinking of ways to transfer themselves to places with more profit. Otherwise, how much money could the small salary in their hands be worth? Prosperity and stability were not as important as money. Who knew if they would encounter some extremely vicious people, and not only would they not be able to make much money, but they would also be slaughtered by the other party. Wouldn't that be a loss for them? Li Zongjio walked in front and stopped. A few figures took the lead and walked out. In the process of tracking, one of the factions had already found the reinforcements. In terms of the number of experts, this faction was much more than the other two factions. Therefore, they naturally took the initiative to attack first. They had to be the early bird that catches the worm. The early bird that catches the worm. The early bird that catches the worm must catch the worm first. Looking at Li Zongjio's appearance, it seemed that he wanted to stop and negotiate. As long as they took the item away, there was no need to care about it. Li Zongjio's life and death had nothing to do with them. Young man, hand over the item. Today, I guarantee that you will leave here alive. 5 figures surrounded Li Zongjio. There was even a person crouching on the roof with a crossbow in his hand, locking onto Li Zongjio. If Li Zongjio wanted to escape from the roof, he would definitely feel the power of the crossbow. An old man wearing a white long-sleeved shirt and a pair of black cotton linen pants walked out. He wore a string of large black beads on his wrist, giving people the impression that he was an immortal. Hundreds of meters away on the street, someone saw the white-robed old man walking out and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Yuan-splitting hand mountain tiger. Who would have thought that they would be able to invite such an expert? The people from the other two factions did not dare to move for a moment. They were on guard against each other in the darkness. At the same time, they had no choice but to send out someone to spread the news. The appearance of this mountain tiger required them to be very careful. It had to be taken seriously. It was rumored that this person was proficient in a set of yuan-splitting palm techniques. Any kind of yuan energy was useless in front of this person, and he could easily tear apart the opponent's yuan energy. It was as if someone was tearing a meat bun apart with their bare hands, tearing a person apart. It was rumored that this person had once torn apart a yuan monarch powerhouse. When he tore the person apart, the fresh internal organs could still be seen twitching violently. It was truly disgusting and cruel. Furthermore, this person never kept his word. He often went back on his word. Although he looked benevolent on the surface, in reality, whenever someone asked him to do something, he would kill the entire family of that person. He would not leave even a chicken or dog alive. Therefore, when they saw the mountain tiger appear, everyone became very cautious. Li Zongjio looked at the people in front of him. These people did not seem to have any intention of restraining themselves. They directly held their weapons in their hands. These were true killers. The old man in front of him was hiding a murderous aura. Naturally, Li Zongjio could see everything clearly. The latter was clearly not qualified to show off in front of him with this little bit of ability. A casual glance was enough to see through him. The words that came out of his mouth were all nonsense. I'm in a good mood today. If anyone wants to leave now, it's not too late, Li Zongjio said. Then, he glanced at the people in front of him. There was no emotion in his eyes. There was only a sense of indifference. When he heard Li Zongjio's words, the corners of the mountain tiger's mouth curled into a cold smile. Although directly killing a person who surrendered seemed to be a smoother thing on the surface, he still preferred to kill those who resisted. Because it was such a wonderful thing to be able to see the unyielding internal organs of such people when he cut open their stomachs. It was an unbelievable miracle. Very well, then let's go. The old man waved his hand. The remaining 4 people immediately attacked. 3 of them held swords and sabers in their hands and attacked at close range. As they approached, vigorous sword aura was released from their swords and sabers. Boom! Boom! The person walking on the roof also shot out the crossbow in his hand. Swoosh swoosh. Under the sharp aura, it was enough to see these terrifying ripples spreading. The cultivation of the 3 sword-wielding experts was all at the 7th grade origin ancestor realm. Li Zongjio stood motionless in the face of these people's attacks. In the next second, he disappeared without a trace. Everyone's attacks fell on thin air. Zuoshan frowned when he saw this. He quickly caught sight of Li Zongjio's figure. When he raised his head, he saw that Li Zongjio's figure had already appeared behind the person on the roof. He grabbed the crossbow in the person's hand. His left hand slapped the person's head. Immediately, the person's head hit the ground and he fell with a bang. Li Zongjio used the crossbow in his hand to aim at the 3 sword-wielding experts. He didn't even need to aim, as he quickly pulled the trigger. Swoosh, swoosh. The crossbow was made of special materials. It was enough to pierce through an 8th grade origin ancestor realm expert. Bang! Bang! When two of them heard the sound, it was already too late to turn around. The sharp crossbow arrow directly pierced through the back of their heads. Puff! Blood splattered as they fell to the ground without any extra movement. The cultivation of a 7th grade origin ancestor realm expert was completely useless. On the other hand, the other person reacted slightly faster and turned his head around. His fate wasn't any better. He was shot in the head by an arrow. The difference between him and the previous two was that he had fallen face first, while the other two had fallen face first. After that, Li Zongjie once again shot an arrow through the head of the person under his foot. He was slapped to the ground and hadn't been able to get up until now. Now that he had a taste of his own weapon, he probably had no regrets in dying. He glanced at the crossbow in his hand. The 5 arrows had all been used up. The first arrow was shot at Li Zongjie. Zuoshan, who was stunned. He didn't expect Li Zongjie to be so skilled. It was really unexpected. Such a move, such a seasoned method. It wasn't something that could be taught by an ordinary person. The way he killed and the expression he had. Even when he killed, there wasn't the slightest bit of killing intent leaking from his body. This was the truly amazing part. This is getting interesting. Zuoshan, who laughed. The more you resist, the more excited I get. Chapter 579. Your skills are not bad. However, your concealment of mental strength is useless in front of me. Zuoshan, who sneered as he started to move his hands. His elemental energy surged towards Li Zongjie like a tidal wave. Boom! A domineering palm energy came from 20 meters away and blew away the roof that Li Zongjie was standing on. Countless bricks and tiles fell to the ground. Die! If I, Zuoshan, who want to kill someone, no one can escape. Zuoshan, who laughed out loud. With elemental energy infused into his laughter, Li Zongjie's figure landed on the street once again. Coincidentally, his opponent's sound wave technique swept towards him, causing the surrounding walls to explode like compressed dust. Boom! Boom! Elemental energy filled the air. Li Zongjie stood still on the spot. The surrounding walls exploded, causing dust to fill the air. However, this had nothing to do with Li Zongjie. There was no movement in the surroundings at all. Li Zongjie, on the other hand, was standing still. Even standing still was enough for him to face the terrifying energy fluctuations. Zuoshan, whose feet trembled. Li Zongjie seemed to have been scared stiff by his aura. This was the best opportunity to attack. Zuoshan, who quickly charged towards Li Zongjie. Boom! Origin splitting palm. Mount Tiger's figure melted into the cloud of dust in front of him and disappeared without a trace. The two groups of people who were watching from afar were shocked. Oh no! If they had subdued Mount Tiger, it would be difficult for them to pursue and capture it. Tailing Li Zongjie was easy. However, tailing Zuoshan, who would put one's life in danger at any time. If Zuoshan, who was unhappy and turned around to kill them, it would be useless no matter how closely they pursued him. However, before they could give chase, they saw a figure flying out from the thick fog. It seemed that the figure had suffered an extremely strong blow, causing him to lose control of his body. With a bang, he crashed into the wall. When he crashed into the wall, he instantly fell to the ground. He never got up again. Quite a number of people were shocked when they saw this scene. Looking from this angle, and sitting in such a posture, the bones in this person's body were almost completely shattered. The one who died was Zuoshan, who. Zuoshan, who, how is this possible? Zuoshan, who was slapped to death. Just as these people were in shock, they suddenly felt that there seemed to be some movement in their surroundings. A bone-chilling wind suddenly blew over their heads. What is that? Just as these people had a bad premonition in their hearts, they turned around and saw a hand suddenly grabbing their heads. Their eyes were covered, and their skulls were held in the other party's hand. Under such circumstances, they had no ability to resist at all. They could even smell the scent of blood on the hand. Crack! His entire head instantly exploded on the spot. Quiet down, all of you. Let's see where that kid went. When the person in front heard the commotion behind him, he couldn't help but frown. These fellows only knew how to cause trouble at such a crucial moment. If they were to let them escape, how would they explain it to their superiors when they returned? No, there's a scent of blood around here. Suddenly, the person in front smelled the scent in the air. He immediately realized that it was the scent of blood, and it was coming from behind him. He immediately turned around and saw that his subordinates had all fallen to the ground. A figure flashed past him. Just as he turned his head around, 2 hands appeared above and below his head. Crack. Then he easily broke the neck. After killing everyone, Li Zongjio wiped the blood off his hands and disappeared from the alley. Tonight was just the beginning. He was the great evil lord Li Zongjio. After his rebirth, he wouldn't be treated as a pawn. It was impossible for anyone to manipulate him at will. He would let these people know how terrifying the evil lord was. In just a few minutes, 3 groups of people died on the street, which was less than 100 meters away. The blood flowing all over the ground hadn't dried yet. Several figures landed and found the place where the corpses were piled up. A young woman in a wide-sleeved flowing dress came in front of the mountain tiger. She pressed her finger on the mountain tiger's neck, and a look of shock immediately appeared in her eyes. What a powerful palm technique! After shattering the mountain tiger's bones, it still managed to keep it alive for another 3 minutes. The young woman in the long dress was slightly shocked. This mountain tiger was an expert that they had spent a lot of money to recruit. Even if they could stall Li Zongjio, they would have accomplished their mission. Moreover, there were some extremely fierce killers in the Jianghu. At this moment, they couldn't do anything, and were directly killed by Li Zongjio. It's impossible to practice such a powerful palm technique without hundreds of years of cultivation. There must be an expert beside Li Zongjio. Find this person for me. No one can be the enemy of my Valley Immortal sect. The woman's eyes were sharp. She also looked in another direction. In the darkness of the street, 3 people slowly walked out. The woman in the long dress subordinates immediately surrounded them, guarding against them. Hall Master Fong is quite early today. I didn't expect to see Hall Master Fong of the Valley Immortal sect in such a desolate place. It's our honor. The elders of the Spirit Valley sect are also very diligent. Let me warn you first. If you want to take the things of my Valley Immortal sect, I advise you to prepare a coffin first. The 3 elders of the Spirit Valley sect were walking over. Regardless of whether it was the Spirit Valley sect or the Valley Immortal sect, they were both the largest suppliers of this pill in the market. They were places that specialized in the production of some high-level elixirs. Therefore, the power in the hands of these forces was very frightening. He wasn't someone that could be casually provoked. Martialists at the Yuan monarch level all hoped to gain the favor of these 2 sections. If they were hired by these 2 sects, they would have a great chance of obtaining high-grade elixir pills. If you want to give an example to let you understand how powerful these 2 sects were. Now, the famous South Heaven Elixir King in the Jianghu. He was an honorary elder of the Spirit Valley sect. Such an identity was enough to shock people. In terms of influence and strength, the South Heaven Elixir King could even establish his own sect. However, in the Spirit Valley sect, he could only be an honorary elder. It was just a name. In other words, it was a dispensable status. If it really couldn't be done, there would be no problem, even if he didn't want to be an honorary elder. He seemed to be used to Fang Liuxin's impolite tone. Lu Wenshan of the Spirit Valley sect just smiled and shook his head. Hall Master Fang is still as straightforward as ever. Since we've put it this way, I, Lu Wenshan, will also say something. Whatever my Spirit Valley sect wants, no one can stop us. If anyone wants to try, then my Spirit Valley sect will accompany you till the end. The 2 giants of the elixir industry did not give in to each other. After Lu Wenshan of the Spirit Valley sect finished speaking, he waved his hand, and the group quietly left the street. Chapter 580. I didn't expect the people of Valley Immortal sect to come so quickly. A slightly shorter middle-aged man beside Lu Wenshan said. There was a piece of bullshit ointment on his face. Because of his physique, he was allergic to the dust in the outside world, so he had to use this kind of ointment to suppress his allergic condition. Ah, I told you not to go down the mountain if you have nothing to do. Look at the situation around here. How terrible it is. The short and fat middle-aged man wiped his nose with a handkerchief. Coming to such a place was simply a living torture. How could anyone like to live in such a terrible environment? Yang Hui, you asked to come out. Now that you're out, you're talking nonsense again. Lu Wenshan said. Then he looked at the tall man, who had been silent all the time. Zhou Kong, how's the situation? One palm shattered the bones and veins, but the internal organs are intact. This kind of move, the control of the power is extremely exquisite. If you want to cultivate to such a level, you'll need at least 80 years of cultivation. The tall man Zhou Kong said in a deep voice. Just now they had already done a check. In fact, although these two people had just been promoted to elders, they were only apprentice elders under Lu Wenshan. So strong? Lu Wenshan could clearly understand the seriousness of Zhou Kang's words. 80 years of cultivation, that's 80 years, not 1 year less. It seems that this kid must be protected by experts around him. To be able to kill Mountain Tiger with one palm, it's not just a matter of experience and cultivation. Thinking of this, Lu Wenshan also took a deep breath. Although he knew that this mission would be incomparably difficult, he did not expect that this was just the beginning, and they would be given such a powerful show of strength. If this matter could not be settled, then he would be too ashamed to continue to be an elder when he returned to Spirit Valley Sect. In addition, this Universe 9 revolving needle was of great importance. It must not be taken away by others. Once it fell into the hands of others, it could be imagined how much pressure it would bring to them. Right now, only these few sects had high-level pills. If there were other sects that caught up with them, then it would be fine. But if one of these sects had directly increased their strength, then it would definitely be Spirit Valley Sect. Boss Lu, this Fong Liuxin doesn't seem easy to deal with. Yang Hui chewed on a stalk of herbal medicine. He could feel that Hall Master Fong's aura was quite fierce. He reckoned that Hall Master Fong was also a master who could kill without spilling blood. In terms of the usage of herbs, Hall Master Fong was even better than them. He was an extremely strong opponent. Fong Liuxin is hard to deal with, but we don't have to do it ourselves. There are some things where just being powerful is useless. You have to be smart. Let's go. Leave. Where are we going? The Sher family of the 4 great clans. Li Zongjio wanted to go back to the Boyu Casino first. Maybe the Boyu Casino had already been targeted. In any case, it was his own business. Li Zongjio didn't want it to be so easily destroyed. However, when they passed by a residential area, they noticed that something was wrong with the area. There seemed to be a lot of figures hiding here. Li Zongjio stood in front of a house. There seemed to be a lot of figures in the courtyard behind the door. They were all trying their best to hide their aura. Insects. Li Zongjio's nose twitched. He smelled something unusual. It was the disgusting smell of insects. Li Zongjio immediately pushed the door open and entered without hesitation. He didn't even need to use his mental strength to sense. Li Zongjio could feel that there were at least 6 or 7 people hiding in the courtyard and the house. They obviously used this place as a stronghold. The people who originally lived here had been killed, and their corpses were used as nutrients for the insects. Obviously, Li Zongjio's intrusion was not what they expected. They were even a little nervous. 3 of them hid under the wall, 1 behind the door, and 2 inside the house. When they saw Li Zongjio walk in, a person came out of the house. A man walked out of the house, his face covered with a black cloth. Friend, what's the matter? Why did you intrude into my house? The person who spoke in a low voice. He didn't approach Li Zongjio. As an insect charger, if he got too close to the enemy, it would be very dangerous. Therefore, it was necessary to keep a distance. This is your house. Li Zongjio couldn't help but smile. Obviously, these people weren't waiting to ambush Li Zongjio. It was just that Li Zongjio happened to barge in, which made them a little helpless. If they could, they wouldn't have chosen to kill Li Zongjio. However, their elder had gone out and hadn't returned yet. Before he left, he had warned them not to act rashly. They had to be very careful in their actions in the city. We have no enmity with you. If there's nothing else, I advise you to leave this place. The person said. Li Zongjio suddenly laughed. Of course I'm here for something. What are you asking? What do you want? The insect charger said in a low voice. He already had a bad feeling in his heart. Of course I'm here to kill you. Li Zongjio waved his hand and said. In the next moment his figure suddenly rushed to the side. The people who were hiding behind a tree near the wall were immediately shocked. Li Zongjio directly grabbed his head and slammed it against the tree. Bang! Suddenly his head exploded on the tree. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. Ah! The other person suddenly shouted. Obviously, he didn't expect Li Zongjio to suddenly appear in front of him and kill him directly. Just as the other person shouted, Li Zongjio had already broken his neck easily. Kill him. Immediately after the middle-aged man finished speaking, he found that his throat was tightly gripped by a hand. He couldn't speak anymore. Crack! His neck tilted and he lost his breath. As for the other people, Li Zongjio didn't show any mercy and killed them all. None of them could escape. Has the southern border poison sect started to act? Li Zongjio couldn't remember the time. Moreover, history might not be the same in this life. At the very least, many things have been reversed by Li Zongjio. This courtyard was only used as a secret base by the southern border's poison sect to make it easier for them to move about in the city. However, they didn't expect Li Zongjio to meet them when he passed by. Since he met them, there was no need to let them go. It was a pity that the original owner of this house was a family of 4. Their intestines and stomachs had long been torn apart, and they no longer looked human. In the end, Li Zongjio could only burn this place to the ground. Some of the unhatched insect eggs were also burned by Li Zongjio. It would be very difficult for the officials to intervene in this matter. After all, even the special envoys wouldn't be willing to come to such a place. In the distance, a group of 5 people was walking. Suddenly, they saw a ball of fire in front of them and immediately stopped to look. Why does the direction of the fire look so familiar? Elder, isn't that our stronghold? What? Our stronghold was burned. When the poison sect elder heard this, his eyes widened. Quick, rush back. I'm incubating a batch of precious insect eggs. Who set the fire? Unfortunately, by the time the southern region's poison sect members rushed back, the house had already been burned to the ground. Who did it? Find out who did it. Just looking at the elder's face, his anger was almost overflowing. He had spent a lot of effort to cultivate those insect eggs. He deliberately found a relatively remote place, and even sent people to protect it. Who knew that it would be burned to the ground by a mysterious person? How could he not be angry? Chapter 581. Tonight was also a turbulent night. However, Li Zongjio, a person who walked in the dark, did not need to hide his identity anymore. Relying on his current strength, there were not many people who could defeat Li Zongjio. When he returned, he also exterminated some of the southern border poison cult members. This immediately made Li Zongjio feel good. However, Li Zongjio recently had a feeling that there was an inexplicable gaze that was watching his every move in the dark. The street in front gradually revealed a slight chill. The weather was gradually turning cold. Of course, for a Yuanli expert like Li Zongjio, it was naturally not a problem. Morongjian had been waiting for Li Zongjio on the street for a long time. Tonight was destined to be a difficult night for Li Zongjio. Who knew how many people wanted to obtain the Universe 9 revolving needle from Li Zongjio's hands? Brotherly, I am Morongjian. Morongjian looked at Li Zongjio, who was walking towards him. Li Zongjio recognized this person. In the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, they had met several times. However, he did not remember if Li Zongjio had beaten him before. It must be said that Li Zongjio had beaten up too many people. Occasionally, he would miss 1 or 2 people and forget about them. This was a very normal thing. Do you also want the thing in my hands? Li Zongjio asked as he walked. Seeing that Li Zongjio did not stop and walked straight towards him, Li Zongjio could not help but feel nervous. Li Zongjio's aura was unpredictable. This was something that Morongjian had a deep understanding of. In addition, the latter's strength was constantly increasing. It seemed that from the beginning, he had already shown a state where he could crush his peers. As for now, they could only look up to him. Therefore, Morongjian knew that the gap between him and Li Zongjio was very big. However, as the son of Morong Wang, how could he admit defeat so easily? Naturally, he had to straighten his back. This was the only way to win glory for the Morong family. Even though Morong Jian already had some thoughts of retreating in his heart, as Li Zongjio walked over, a kind of tremor still spread from the bottom of his heart. No, I am here on behalf of the Morong family to discuss a cooperation with you, Morong Jian said. At this moment, Li Zongjio's footsteps were already very close. At such a close distance, if Li Zongjio's body was filled with killing intent, then Morong Jian's legs would probably go soft, and he would kneel down. What cooperation? Li Zongjio asked. Since it was a cooperation, then Li Zongjio would definitely welcome it. The Morong family's strength was considered quite good in this city. Since he wanted to hang his signboard on Li Zongjio's door, then what reason would Li Zongjio have to refuse? When Morong Jian saw Li Zongjio's footsteps stop, he finally felt relieved. If he continued to approach, then he might be crushed by Li Zongjio's aura. It was too terrifying. He did not want to become enemies with such a person. It was hard to imagine how terrifying it would be if he had an enemy, like Li Zongjio in his life. The Morong family is willing to help your Boyu casino to integrate all the underground casinos, including the Blue Tiger Gang's territory. In exchange, the Morong family would like to borrow a copy of the Universe 9 revolving needle. We will return it in 3 days, Morong Jian said. He sorted out his emotions. At this moment he should not be moved. He forced himself to be calm. At least, he did not lose face in front of Li Zongjio. If you want to negotiate, then you still don't understand the main point. Go back and study for 2 years, then come and find me. Li Zongjio's figure appeared beside Morong Jian. He put his hand on Morong Jian's shoulder and gently patted him twice. Morong Jian was so scared that his whole body tensed up. However, he did not feel Li Zongjio's approach at all. Li Zongjio's cultivation had already reached the point where he could appear and disappear unpredictably. As he said that, Li Zongjio lifted his head and looked at a tall building in the distance. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. These people were really interesting. Was this also called cooperation? Integrating the resources of the underground casinos was a simple matter for the current Li Zongjio. Even the Blue Tiger Gang. If Li Zongjio did not want to continue playing, then it would not be a problem for him to directly wipe out the entire Blue Tiger Gang. If Morong Wang wasn't a fool, then he would be too naive if he wanted to take away a treasure that even a Yuan monarch martialist would sacrifice his life for. In the direction that Li Zongjio was looking at, there was a private room in the tall building with a window facing Li Zongjio. When they saw Li Zongjio looking over, and his arm on Morong Jian's shoulder, the two people in the private room stood up and looked a little nervous. This kid actually dares to threaten me. Morong Yunjan was stunned when he saw this scene. Then he sneered. He, Morong Yunjan, had seen all kinds of situations in his life. Today, he was actually threatened by a teenager. The teenager's meaning was very clear. If he did not have enough sincerity, then don't come looking for him. If the next person to appear was Morong Jian, then Morong Jian's life would be in danger. Your Highness, do you want me to teach this person a lesson? Standing beside Morong Yunjan was a black-clothed old man. His appearance was a little skinny, but his hands and feet were filled with power. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a martial arts expert. Although his eyes appeared turbid, his gaze was filled with sharpness. With a casual move he could launch a thunderous attack. No need. In my opinion, there is still room for negotiation with this person. There is no hurry to make an enemy out of him. Furthermore, it would not be a good thing for the Morong family if we rashly make an enemy out of such an unknown person, Morong Yunjan said. When he said this, the old man beside him was completely shocked. One had to know that this Morong Wang, who dominated the world, had never been afraid. When had he ever been afraid? Even when he was facing millions of soldiers, he was able to ensure that his aura was not affected at all. Instead, he became more and more courageous as he fought. Now he was actually hesitating in the hands of a teenager. This was something that had never happened before. Looks like I need to find a time to pay this person a visit, Morong Yunjan said. The old man beside him was even more incredulous. With Murong Yunjan's status, if he wanted to meet this kid, he only needed to issue a summon order. Naturally, there would be someone to invite this Li Zongjiu over. But now he actually said that he wanted to meet him personally. What did this Li Zongjiu do to deserve this? He actually got Murong Wang's favor. Chapter 582. Li Zongjiu did not make things difficult for Murong Jian. Perhaps among the younger generation, Murong Jian was considered quite outstanding. At the very least, he was able to stand in front of Li Zongjiu for such a long time without being scared to the point that his legs went soft, and he directly knelt on the ground. They walked into the Great Pleasure Casino. Taifai happened to have some information to give to Li Zongjiu. Young master, you asked me to pay attention to the recent movements in the city. Something big must have happened in the city recently. The two of them sat in front of the table. After a while, Du Liani also came. According to the authority that Li Zongjiu had allocated, Taifai naturally had the most authority. However, he also gave some authority to Du Liani. At least, Du Liani could use a lot of power. Wang Ding was considered a reserve power. The real development still depended on the joint management of the two of them. Therefore, Du Liani was also asked to come and listen when there was something, so that it would be easier for them to take action and deploy. What do you mean? Li Zongjiu asked. Taifai then took out a stack of information. The few top forces in the underworld, Snowfield Spirit Valley Sect, Valley Immortal Sect, and Longevity Pavilion, have all sent important people to the city recently. Moreover, some famous people in the underworld have also appeared. Each of them is very strong, such as Yuan Splitting Hand Mountain Tiger and Demon Staff Nan He. These are all top experts in the underworld, and they are notorious. If not for the temptation of money, these people would not appear so easily. Taifai said, these people were all famous. Before Taifai set foot in the underworld, he had already heard of their names. If these people were still alive, their strength was simply unimaginable. Yuan Splitting Hand Mountain Tiger? This name sounds familiar. Is this person powerful? Li Zongjiu asked. Rumor has it that this person's palm technique is amazing. He once split a Yuan King expert in half with one palm. Du Liani said. Sounds interesting. Li Zongjiu nodded. If there was a chance, he would definitely exchange blows with this person to see what kind of skills he had. Of course, Li Zongjiu's C was naturally to let the other party make a move and then kill him. It was just to let the other party show off his moves and see what kind of skills he had. Otherwise, wouldn't it be too cruel if he didn't even have the chance to use it after cultivating for half his life? What Li Zongjiu didn't know was that he had already killed the spirit-severing Palm Mountain Tiger. In fact, during the battle just now, Mountain Tiger had announced his name. Unfortunately, Li Zongjiu didn't remember it, which was why he said the name sounded familiar. Young master, it's best that you don't encounter this person. It's said that this person is vicious and merciless, and he kills people like scything flax. Most importantly, he goes back on his words and likes to toy with his prey. He's an extremely dangerous person, Taifai said with a dignified expression. This was not a joke. If he really encountered this person, although it would be embarrassing to run away, at least he would be able to keep his life after running away. He wouldn't have to die in vain. I'll be more careful next time. What's the background of Spirit Valley Sect and Spirit Valley Sect? Li Zongjiu had never heard of these two sects in his previous life. However, Chongqing Pavilion was a famous sect in his previous life. Before the true heyday of alchemy, Chongqing Pavilion was the only sect in the world with a level 7 alchemist. Li Zongjiu had once wanted to enter Chongqing Pavilion to learn alchemy. Unfortunately, he couldn't even find the entrance, not to mention participating in any assessment. However, Li Zongjiu's achievements were far beyond anyone in Chongqing Pavilion. Therefore, in the later days, Li Zongjiu didn't give Chongqing Pavilion any face at all. Even Chongqing Pavilion was a little puzzled. Why did evil Lord Li Zongjiu seem to have a prejudice against these sects? These two sects are mainly alchemy sections. However, they aren't very famous in Jianghu. Only the real higher-ups who have reached a certain realm can come into contact with these people. It can be said that most of the level 5 pills in the market today are from the alchemists of these two sections. Li Zongjio understood after hearing this. Even though there were a lot of alchemy geniuses in the Heavenly Star Medicine manor, it was still difficult for them to refine some 5th-grade pills, let alone sell the pills they refined. It was estimated that not many people would be able to do it. Being able to refine one pill was already a very difficult thing. If he wanted to sell this pill, wouldn't it be a huge loss? They didn't even have enough for themselves. Why would they want to sell it to others? Since Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect had such a surplus of pills, it meant that these two sects had a lot of level 5 alchemists. Once an alchemist broke through to the level 5 realm, he would be recruited by these two sections. People strive for higher heights. If an alchemist above level 5 wanted to break through, he could only enter such a place to learn. Nantian Dan King is the honorary elder of Spirit Valley Sect. Du Liani said. Because Du Liani was also the 9th prince's follower, some news of Jianghu would also flow through Du Liani's hands. Naturally, she knew more than ordinary people. A bunch of trash. Not worth mentioning. After knowing the nature of these people, Li Zongjio waved his hand again and again. He thought they were some powerful people, but they were just a bunch of alchemists. If you want to compare who is better, Li Zongjio wouldn't dare to say that he is the best in the world. But if it is a competition of alchemy, he has never been afraid of anyone. Hearing Li Zongjio's words, Taifai and Du Liani just smiled in agreement. You are the young master, so you can say whatever you want. They seem to have come to this city to participate in some alchemist exchange. Maybe they will also send an invitation to you. Taifai said. With Li Zongjio's identity, it was natural to invite Li Zongjio to this level of exchange. At least in this city, the most popular young alchemist recently must be Li Zongjio. What's the point of going to these rubbish gathering places? I just found some gathering points of southern Xinjiang's insect masters in the city. Send someone down to check where these guys are hiding. I want to wipe them all out. Li Zongjio said. Speaking of the southern border insect masters, Taifai and Du Liani's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt, but they didn't ask much. Since they were the young master's enemies, then they were naturally their enemies. Young master, Song Jiyu of the 7-Star Stove wants to see you. Chapter 583. Song Jiyu was invited to Li Zongjio and the others. Previously, it was precisely because of Li Zongjio's support and assistance that Song Jiyu was able to regain her position as the person in charge and stabilize the current situation. The toying between these methods also appeared to be quite advanced and mysterious. Although it became very simple, it was still very difficult to achieve this point. Song Jiyu did it. With a spirit of overcoming all difficulties and an arrogant attitude, she forcefully incorporated the new Saber Axe Pavilion. Now the 7-Star Fire Room was officially on the same level as the Sky Sword Pavilion. Young Master Li, long time no see. The storm in the city has not calmed down because of you. Song Jiyu said with a smile after seeing Li Zongjio. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits when faced with happy events. Now Song Jiyu's position in the Song family was getting higher and higher. More power of the 7-Star Fire Room was also in her hands. Now, as long as Song Jiyu did not make any major mistakes, she could basically continue to stay in this position. You're also not bad. You completed the task ahead of time. I underestimated you before. Li Zongjio said. It only took him 1.5 months to deal with the Saber Axe Pavilion, which was earlier than the plan. Not only did he deal with it crudely, but he also integrated the power of the Saber Axe Pavilion into his own subordinates. It became his own sharp knife. Such a method was also extremely brilliant. Have a seat. Li Zongjio said. Song Jiyu sat beside Du Liani. She had heard about Du Liani, who was gradually becoming famous recently. Du Liani was originally an expert in the gambling world. Now, she became the lady boss of the pawn shop. There was a mysterious force behind her. If it was not for the strong financial support, it would be difficult to do things well. Song Jiyu only found out later that Du Liani was Li Zongjio's subordinate. The financial support behind Du Liani was the Great Yu Casino. Li Zongjio's move was very brilliant to be able to open up this line in one fell swoop. At least, while he was constantly accumulating wealth, he was also constantly taking some treasures into his arms. In the long run, there would definitely be some valuable treasures that would fall into Li Zongjio's pocket. As long as there was enough time, money would just go in and out in the left pocket. It was not a big deal. Congratulations, young Master Li. Today you killed the yuan-splitting Palm Mountain Tiger. Tomorrow, your name will enter the list of the major forces. In the future, there will be more people coming to seek cooperation. Song Jiyu said. Her words made Li Zongjio somewhat confused. Not only was Li Zongjio confused, but even Taifai and Du Liani were also puzzled. Miss Song, what do you mean? Just when Taifai wanted to confirm whether Song Jiyu was stupid or made a mistake, a subordinate immediately came in. Manager, young master, urgent news. Taifai glanced at Song Jiyu, but Li Zongjio waved his hand. Why are you so flustered? Speak, there are no outsiders here. After receiving Li Zongjio's permission, the messenger hurriedly said, the news has already spread like wildfire. The legendary yuan-splitting Palm Mountain Tiger was killed by a palm strike in a third-class district in the southern part of the city. There are no less than 10 corpses at the scene, all of them experts. What? When Taifai and Du Liani heard the news, they both gasped. Taifai continued to ask, who did it? The outside world has different opinions. There is no accurate information for the time being, but most people say that it was done by young master. Young master did it. Taifei immediately looked at Li Zongjio. Du Liani's eyes were also filled with disbelief. This was too shocking. They were just talking about the extremely ferocious and dangerous yuan-splitting Han Mountain Tiger. But it had died just like that. This expert who had dominated the Jianghu for at least 10 years was killed just like that. They couldn't believe this news. It came too suddenly. Looking at Song Jiyu, Taifai seemed to understand, or rather confirm, that it was Li Zongjio who had killed the Palm Mountain Tiger. After dismissing the messenger, the two of them looked at Li Zongjio doubtfully. Li Zongjio also had a feeling of sudden realization. Oh, so that old man was the yuan-splitting Palm Mountain Tiger. He couldn't even block a palm strike from me. Li Zongjio said. It seemed like the famous people in the Jianghu were basically bragging. Otherwise, how could the real situation be so different from the legends? According to Taifai's explanation, Li Zongjio even thought that the Palm Mountain Tiger's strength was at least at the peak of the Yuan monarch realm. However, the person who had killed him with a single palm strike was only at the peak of the second-grade Yuan monarch realm. How could someone who had killed a first-grade Yuan monarch, or someone who had just broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, claim to be able to kill a Yuan monarch elite with a single palm strike? The standards of people nowadays were really low. After hearing Li Zongjio admit it himself, Taifai and Du Liani finally understood how terrifying Li Zongjio was. Where did such a monster come from? It was really unbelievable that such a terrifying existence existed. Li Zongjio was too much of a monster. He killed without hesitation. Even after killing the other party, he didn't even know who he had killed. Wasn't that a little too careless? It's a small matter. I will settle these people myself. You don't have to worry. Li Zongjio waved his hand and said, these people? Who? Taifai and Du Liani did not understand. What exactly was Li Zongjio talking about? Could it be that he had gotten into some trouble recently? Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect. If nothing goes wrong, Chongqing Pavilion will also become your enemy. Song Jiyu said. What? Taifai felt that his brain was not enough. Had he been sleeping in bed for half a year? Why had the world become like this after he woke up? When did these things happen? They did not know before. According to the information from the 7-star fire room, the 3 groups of people that young Master Li killed happened to be the people sent by Valley Immortal Sect, Spirit Valley Sect, and Chongqing Pavilion to monitor them. Now Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect know that they have dispatched experts at the level of Hall Masters and Elders. In addition, we have just received information that Elder Lu Wenshan, the leader of Spirit Valley Sect, has brought people to the residence of the Shi family, one of the 4 great families. Song Jiyu said in a deep voice. This matter was of great importance. Therefore, Song Jiyu had to come and inform them. This matter was not simple. If the Spirit Valley sect were to cooperate with the Sure family, it would definitely cause an earth-shattering change in the relationship between the four great families. Even the slightest ripple could bring about great changes. So what? Even if these people join forces, what can they do? Li Zongjio said disdainfully. What are you doing here today? Don't tell me you're here to congratulate me. Li Zongjio looked at Song Jiyu. Earlier, Valley Immortal Sect had sent people to test the 7-star fire room. They wanted to use the strength of the 7 forces, including the 7-star fire room. Now these forces are in a wait-and-see state. Our 7-star fire room does not have much interaction with elixirs, so you don't have to worry. Song Jiyu said, and then glanced at the expressions of the others. Li Zongjio indeed had an indifferent attitude. In addition, these 10 sets of Raging Dragon Capturing Flames are my private sponsorship. Chapter 584. 10 Sets of Dragon Capturing Wrath. After Li Zongjio had displayed the might of Raging Dragon Capturing Fury once at the Essence Weapon Conference, almost everyone had shown an extremely strong interest in this ferocious operation of Raging Dragon Capturing Fury. But unfortunately the price was too high. It was not a wholesale agent, but the price of one set was 50 million purple yuan. Although some families had large businesses, it didn't mean that they could casually take out 50 million purple yuan and leave it here, waiting to use it for self-defense. After all, this thing required a lot of money to buy energy stones, and only through constant training and repeated operation could its power be stimulated. Therefore, only some bored collectors, especially those who had money to spare, would buy it. At most, they would buy 1 or 2 sets. Even if they bought more, they would not be able to afford it. 10 sets of Dragon Capturing Wrath. That was a total of 5 billion purple yuan. Private sponsorship was so generous. If they cooperated with each other, who knew how generous it would be? You know how to conduct yourself. I appreciate your kindness. Li Zongjio laughed. Taifai and the others also realized that Song Jiyu's move was indeed brilliant. In such a situation, it could be said that she had sent charcoal in snowy weather. If Li Zongjio really became the enemy of the 2 big sects, or even the 3 big sections, in that case this power was a must. But it must be said that Li Zongjio and Song Jiyu had a cooperative relationship. If Li Zongjio had not asked Shadow Fox to assist him, Song Jiyu might not have become what she was today. Now Li Zongjio could be said to be facing a formidable enemy. The enemy's strength was also very strong. At this moment, Song Jiyu had sent 5 billion purple yuan worth of equipment as support, which was quite reliable. If Li Zongjio was eliminated in the end, Song Jiyu would only lose 5 billion purple yuan in the whole process. Even if she was questioned by the people of the 3 big sects, she could easily get away. It was not a big deal. If Li Zongjio won this battle, Song Jiyu would have done her best. She was really a smart woman. Li Zongjio did not dislike such a person. After all, this was the way of the world. Some stupid people could barely survive if they followed the right person. But if ordinary people did not have their own means and ideas, they would be used sooner or later, stepping on them as a cushion. It was also a very normal thing. You could play tricks, but if you wanted to use tricks to violate Li Zongjio's interests, Li Zongjio would directly cut your hands off. Other than that, this is the newest one, the 2nd generation Raging Flames Dragon Slayer. Currently, this is the only finished product. According to our previous agreement, this also belongs to you. Song Jiyu took out the other storage ring. The storage rings were placed on the table. The Dragon Capturing Wrath. When they heard this name, Taifai and the others could not help but be shocked. If a weapon was upgraded, although it was not as difficult as developing a new weapon, it was not that simple. Just making some small changes might require a huge amount of financial and material resources. That would be a very scary number. According to the current market situation, even if the 2nd generation Wrath was developed, it would have to be delayed for at least half a year, or even a year before it could be sold and promoted. After all, the The dragon-capturing wrath was still relatively stable in the current market. It was difficult for anyone to compete with it. The latest research was handed over to Li Zongjio so quickly. If this thing was leaked, it would definitely cause a huge blow to the 7-star fire workshop. The second-generation wrath came out so quickly. Li Zongjio did not expect that the 7-star fire workshop's ability seemed to be a little stronger. Even if it was a top forging workshop, the speed of the weapon's upgrade still made Li Zongjio very surprised. During the last Yuan Weapon Grand Meeting, you have already displayed all the functions of the first-generation Furious Flame-capturing dragon. Therefore, we are naturally aware of the flaws that still exist within it. Hence, we also have a direction if we want to improve it. Song Jiyu said. These days, not only were they busy dealing with the Saber Axe Pavilion, but also researching the functions of the second-generation wrath was naturally the most important thing. Only by having a new weapon in hand could they be considered to have control of the lifeline of the weapon industry. As a Yuan weapon shop, the 7-star fire workshop naturally had to pay attention to this point. The value of the second-generation wrath is even more than the value of the 10 first-generation wrath. Taifai said. It was already very good for Song Jiyu to be able to reach this point. Moreover, there were some people who did not understand whether she was here to help Li Zongjio or to draw a clear line with Li Zongjio. Now, it's your turn to show your value and strength. Song Jiyu looked at Li Zongjio and said. In Song Jiyu's mind, in the previous operation, even if Li Zongjio was not there, she still had a way to get rid of the Saber Axe Pavilion. Now that she had such a cooperative relationship with Li Zongjio, Song Jiyu had shown her strength. Therefore, it should be Li Zongjio's turn to show off as well. From the beginning to the end, Song Jiyu had placed herself in the same position as Li Zongjio. Only when they were in a cooperative relationship would they have a chance to take down this matter. If she wanted to dominate the Song family, Song Jiyu must have a strong backing. If Li Zongjio wanted to destroy Qingyuan Manor, he naturally needed Song Jiyu's 7-star fire room as a strong support force. Song Jiyu's body naturally exuded a trace of domineering aura. Du Lianyi and Taifai looked at each other. This Song Jiyu did not seem simple. From Song Jiyu, they could see a lot of things. It seemed that Song Jiyu's ambition was far beyond the sacred flame royal city. After delivering the items, Song Jiyu immediately took her leave. In the face of the 3 major sects that were about to appear, Taifai and Du Lianyi appeared to be under great pressure. It should be known that with the strength of these people, it would be easy for them to destroy their casino or whatever. They did not even need to inform anyone. So what if they destroyed it directly? No matter how much preparation they made, it would be useless. Both sides were not on the same level of strength. However, Li Zongjio did not seem to be in a hurry at all. Since the Sher family and that Spirit Valley sect want to join forces to deal with me, I'll start with the Sher family. Li Zongjio said indifferently. The corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. It was an extremely dangerous smile. As of now, Li Zongjio had temporarily completed his tasks in the city. The Universe 9 revolving needle had already been sent out, and he had come to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Therefore, the remaining time did not matter to him. Even if he wanted to barge into the Genius Tower, there was not much point in doing so. If there was enough time, Li Zongjio would like to study the Hell Prajna technique. It was a set of cultivation techniques born from the Black Dragon Sovereign's Yuan spirit. With Li Zongjio's current strength, he could barely touch upon it. The space domain could only be fully displayed when he reached the Yuan King level. But now Li Zongjio's strength had increased significantly. Among the 4 great Yuan spirits, the White Dragon Yuan spirit had already stepped into the Yuan King level. But the Golden Dragon Yuan spirit and the Blood Dragon Yuan spirit, they were still a little lacking, especially the Blood Dragon Yuan spirit. In comparison, the number of people Li Zongjio had killed was still too little. Chapter 585. In that case, Li Zongjio would no longer have to hold back in the Sacred Flame Royal City from this day onwards. After the massacre in the first half of the night, the people from the 3 major sects, who had vowed to take down Li Zongjio in one fell swoop, finally calmed down. The people from the Chongqing Pavilion were the last to arrive in the city. They stayed in the Inkai Inn. The leader of the Chongqing Pavilion was the young pavilion master, Pei Si. He had 3 generals under him, all of whom were at the elder level. In addition to their Yuan monarch level cultivation, what was even more shocking was that they were all grade 5 alchemists. When the 3 grade 5 advanced alchemists entered the city, it naturally caused a huge commotion. On the surface, it was as calm as still water. However, countless people were secretly racking their brains to invite the masters from the Chongqing Pavilion to their own clans. Even if they did not refine pills this time, they believed that the people from the Chongqing Pavilion would not reject them the next time they had a need. Inkayan. The 3 great elders sat in front of Pei Si. The 4 of them seemed to be waiting for something. At this moment, someone knocked on the closed door. "Young master, they are here." A female disciple from the Chongqing Pavilion came in and reported, "Let them come in." Pei Si waved his hand and said. Then a figure walked into the room. Pei Si had a playful smile on his face. When he saw the person in front of him, the smile on his face became even wider. "Brother Xian Ming, long time no see." Shi family. When the people from the Spirit Valley sect stayed in the Shi family, the current head of the Shi family, Shi Chuji, was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. He even almost emptied his room for the elders from the Spirit Valley sect. "Welcome, elders. Your presence brings light to the Shi family's humble dwelling." Shi Chuji led a group of elders from the Shi family to welcome them at the door. Shi Baoshan followed behind Shi Chuji and the others. When he thought about how he had been humiliated by Li Zongjio, Shi Baoshan gnashed his teeth in hatred. He wished he could skin Li Zongjio alive. "Patriarch Shi, you're too modest. We came here in a hurry, and didn't even have a place to stay. We'll have to trouble Patriarch Shi for a few days." Lu Wenshan said. It's okay. Even though the Shi clan is not the #1 clan in the city, it's not a problem if all the elders and disciples of the Ling Valley sect come together. Then I'll have to trouble you for a few days. Lu Wenshan said very politely. "Oh, that's right. Could I trouble Shi family head to help me prepare a person's information?" Lu Wenshan said. He went straight to the point without hiding anything. After all, he didn't come here for sightseeing, but to deal with Li Zongjio. "Whose information does Elder Lu want?" "His name is Li Zongjio." Lu Wenshan thought for a while and said, "Li Zongjio?" Shi Chuji found the name familiar, but he couldn't remember where. Instead, Shi Baoshan exclaimed, "Li Zongjio? Little brother, do you know anything about Li Zongjio?" Lu Wenshan looked at Shi Baoshan. Shi Baoshan was also a little frightened. After all, he wasn't sure if Li Zongjio had offended Lu Wenshan, or if these people came here to ask for help from Li Zongjio. Lu Wenshan said slowly, as if he saw the hesitation on Shi Baoshan's face. "Li Zongjio has something that our Ling Valley sect wants. If necessary, even if we have to kill Li Zongjio, we must get it. That means there's a grudge." Shi Baoshan's face suddenly changed, as if he couldn't wait to tear Li Zongjio into pieces. "Elders, don't worry. I have a complete set of information about Li Zongjio, including the properties under his control. I have already investigated it thoroughly," Shi Baoshan said. Lu Wenshan and the others looked at each other. They didn't expect their luck to be so good. Since someone had already prepared for it, it saved them a lot of effort. "Very good. If that's the case, then you've helped us a lot. Haha. Elders, please come in. I have already prepared some food and wine," Shi Chuji said. "Let's go." Shi Baoshan didn't expect that someone would come to avenge him so soon. It seemed that he didn't have to wait too long to kill Li Zongjio. He had to cripple Li Zongjio first. Shi Baoshan didn't think that someone would come to avenge him so soon. It seemed that he wouldn't have to wait too long to kill Li Zongjio. The news of Lu Wenshan and the others staying in the Shi family had reached Shi Shu's ears. Recently, Shi Shu and Shi Tairan had also been staying in the Shi family. Shi Tairan had been dismissed from his position, and now he was focusing on his cultivation. He didn't care about the matters of the family, and some of the authority was gradually taken over by Shi Chuji. Plus, there was the support of Qingyuan Manor. Shi Tairan even believed that Shi Chuji was already planning to kill him. On the other hand, Shu's presence was usually quite low. Plus, he didn't have long to live, so these people didn't put Shu in their eyes. They were just waiting for Shu to suddenly die one day. However, Tyran also heard that Lu Wenshan and the other elders of the Spirit Valley sect were coming. Tyran, who was in seclusion, quickly went to find Shu. I just received news that someone is here to deal with your friend Li Zongjio. Immediately go and inform your friend to leave this place. The one who wants to kill him is the Spirit Valley sect. Tyran said solemnly. Chuji, this trash, wanted to turn the family into a puddle of muddy water. Moreover, the people of the Spirit Valley sect wanted to kill with a borrowed knife. These people who came were all alchemists. Killing someone and robbing them didn't require them to do it personally. Of course, they would leave it to these people. Shu was shocked when he heard this. Over the past few days, other than refining a few elixirs and giving them to Zhao Jingxian, he treated it as payment for interest. After that, he started to improve his strength. Although Shu's Yuan power had entered the Yuan King realm, he had never fought in a battle. However, if one were to talk about combat, he had practically never experienced it before. Most of his time was spent on alchemy. With regards to combat and how to use his Yuan power, he was completely clueless. Since he had finally returned to normal, he naturally wanted to experience it properly. Many martial arts and Yuan skills had to be cultivated from scratch. Fortunately, Shu's talent was good, and with the help of the withered meridians, Shu's meridians became clearer and smoother. Therefore, when he came in contact with martial arts, his learning efficiency was greatly improved. Deal with Li Zongjio. I'll be back soon. Shu heard this news. As an alchemist, he naturally knew how powerful the Spirit Valley sect was. Back then, he also wanted to ask the elders of the Spirit Valley sect to treat his withered meridians. However, these people politely rejected him. This was because they didn't have a way to cure this illness. Generally speaking, this kind of treatment that they didn't have much confidence in would not be easily done. Otherwise, wouldn't it be tarnishing their reputation for nothing? If that were to spread, others would say that they directly killed a person. Shu hurriedly left the family and went straight to the Boyu Casino. The Boyu Casino was Li Zongjio's property. Since he found the casino, he naturally knew where Li Zongjio was. Chapter 586. Purple Pill Institute. Purple Pill Institute was also a famous school in the Sacred Flame Royal City. The buildings here were all purple-red in color. It gave off an oppressive feeling. Purple Chi came from the east full of vigor. Although the establishment of the Purple Pill Academy was not as good as that of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, the reputation of the Purple Pill Academy gradually rose because of the few great teachers and the emergence of many famous experts. Today, a middle-aged man came to the Purple Pill Institute. When the middle-aged man wanted to enter the Purple Pill Institute, he was stopped by the night guard. Stop! Who are you? Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter the Purple Pill Institute. A fierce-looking guard walked out with a machete in his hand. The middle-aged man was not in a hurry. He just stopped and looked at the guard. Originally, he wanted to teach this blind person a lesson. It was already so late, so he must want to go in and hang some junior sisters. He was really shameless. However, after seeing the middle-aged man in front of him, the guard was stunned. The security guard was also stunned at first. Then, he kept rubbing his eyes and blinking desperately, trying to see the person in front of him clearly. Damn. Nan Tian. Grandmaster Nan Tian. The middle-aged man's face was extremely familiar. Due to his identity and status, the Academy had created a bronze statue of him, which was placed in the Hall of the Exalted, so that one could observe it at any time. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. The middle-aged man's face was extremely familiar. Due to his identity and status, the Academy had created a bronze statue of him and placed it in the Hall of the Exalted, so that one could observe it at any time. Is Vice Principal Jing here? Pill King Nantian smiled. He did not have the arrogance of the legends. Instead, he gave people a feeling of intimacy. Yes. Vice Principal. She has never left. I will go and inform her immediately. No need. I will go personally. The cold air in this mountain is very cold. You are on night guard all year round. This cold-repelling pill can maintain the power of ethereal fire in your body. It will not be attacked by the cold air. Pill King Mantion casually threw a pill to the guard. This guard had been working here since the time when South Heaven Pill King was studying. After so many years he was full of problems. Although his body was still stable, if he continued to grow older, he might collapse. This is a third-grade high-level medicinal pill. I can't accept it. The guard let out an earth-shattering sound. But when he turned around, Pill King Mantion had already disappeared into the darkness. For this ordinary gatekeeper uncle, he casually took out a level 3 high-grade medicinal pill. He was truly extravagant, worthy of the demeanor of a pill king. The appearance of the Southern Heaven Elixir King in the Saint Flame Royal City would definitely cause a huge commotion. After all, the Southern Heaven Elixir King usually stayed in the south and rarely came to the central region of the empire. It had been many years since he graduated from the Purple Pill Academy. This time, he returned to his alma mater and reminisced about it. He was indeed a loyal and affectionate person. Tonight alone was destined to be a sleepless night. Feng Liuxin, the hall master of the Valley Immortal sect, led his disciples to live in a splendid courtyard in the city. Previously this courtyard had a very resounding name, Yi Clan's courtyard. Although Yi Lantian had been killed, the wealth he had accumulated over the years had not decreased. Now the entire Yi clan was under the control of Yi Lantian's wife. Xiang Shu and Lady Xiang were in the hands of Yi Lantian. No one dared to believe that Madame Xiang of the Yi family and Hall Master Feng Liuxin of the Valley Immortal sect were once friends despite the difference in age. When they were young, they met by chance when they wandered the Jianghu. Although they didn't contact each other often, they were still in contact. I didn't expect that 15 years would pass in the blink of an eye. You actually became the Hall Master of the Valley Immortal sect. Xiang Shu looked like she had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Her eyes revealed a trace of fatigue, but she had gradually adjusted recently. The Yi clan's huge foundation could not be destroyed by Xiang Shu's hands. The incompetent sons of those concubines had also been strictly trained by Xiang Shu. Although she had no choice, she still had to choose one of them to be the head of the Yi family. However, as long as the Yi clan was in Lady Xiang's hands, the Yi clan would still belong to her. Of course, what Xiang Shu wanted was to protect the Yi clan's reputation. Although the Yi clan was fully in Xiang Shu's hands, the Yi clan was surnamed Yi after all. She was a woman, and there was no way she could change the name of the Yi clan. Why didn't you tell me earlier that such a big thing happened to you? There was a trace of blame in Feng Liuxin's tone, but it was more of heartache. He felt sorry for this sister of his whom he had not seen for many years. He did not expect that she would end up in such a miserable state in the end. Sister, do you know who the enemy is? To be able to kill so many people of the Yi clan, it must be a capable person. With Xiang Shu's strength, she might not be able to deal with it, but with Feng Liuxin's strength, it might not be impossible to deal with these people. What's more, the people of the Valley Immortal sect came this time with their reputation. They did not come in the name of personal matters. His appearance was enough to attract the attention of everyone in the area. As the giants of the alchemy world, they appeared at the same time. What they were after was definitely not simple. Although I don't have concrete evidence, the most likely enemy would be the one called Li Zongjio. However, he's been in the limelight recently, and his strength isn't weak. It's hard to make a move, Xiang Shu said in a deep voice. It was naturally not difficult to find some clues about Li Zongjio. Although the final result was somewhat unbelievable, this kind of thing happened most of the time. No one dared to believe that a teenager could do such a thing. Even if it was not Li Zongjio who did it, it was definitely related to Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio? Li Zongjio from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? Hearing his sister's words, Feng Liuxin's eyes had a trace of surprise. The reason why our Valley Immortal sect came to the Holy Flame Royal City is also to find this Li Zongjio, or rather to take something from him. Feng Liuxin said. Xiang Shu's eyes were filled with disbelief as she looked at Feng Liuxin. After seeing the affirmation in Feng Liuxin's eyes, she gradually became excited. Since Li Zongjiu is related to the murder of my brother-in-law, after I capture Li Zongjiu and interrogate him, I will know everything. The two women also hated the same person in the room at the same time. Li Zongjiu probably did not expect that some of the enemies he had made over the past few days would come together now. Chapter 587. Shu had been waiting in front of the casino since early in the morning. When he came yesterday, the casino was surprisingly closed. Although Shu found Taifai didn't let Shu disturb Li Zongjiu. However, Shu told Taifai about the situation, and Taifai said that he already knew about it. However, Shu saw that Taifai didn't seem to care about it. It seemed that these people didn't know how powerful the Shi family was, or how powerful the Spirit Valley sect was. When facing these people, Shu couldn't let his guard down. Moreover, the Shi family's strength was definitely not as simple as it appeared on the surface. A casino like the Boyu Casino could be destroyed in a matter of minutes. Even if they spent a lot of money to open a bigger casino, it wouldn't be a problem. To be able to become one of the 4 great families of the Holy Flame Imperial City was enough to prove their terrifying strength. However, Shu didn't bother with Taifai too much. Instead, he waited for Li Zongjiu to come out. Therefore, he waited at the entrance of the casino early in the morning. "It's you, why are you still here?" When Taifai opened the door early in the morning, he saw Shu still waiting at the entrance. Opening the door personally was a rule of the casino. Only by doing so could one prosper. "Brotherly, did you come out?" Shu asked. Taifai was about to answer, but a voice came from behind him. "It's you? You came at the right time. I'm going to your Shi family." Li Zongjiu saw Shu and said, last time, he had refined a heavenly mending pill and given it to Shu. With Shu's withered veins, it wouldn't take long for him to recover under the effects of the heavenly mending pill. In front of the corresponding pill, even a terminal illness was like a small cold that could be treated casually. You absolutely cannot go to the Shi family. Now there is a group of people in the Shi family. They're here specifically to deal with you. You'd better hurry and leave Sacred Flame Royal City. People from Spirit Valley sect are really not to be trifled with. They won't stay in this city for long. You just need to hide for a while, and you'll be able to keep your life. Shu said anxiously. His eyes were solemn. You waited outside for an entire night just to tell me this news? Li Zongjiu asked. Shu was a little too straightforward. He had actually waited here for an entire night. Then, Li Zongjiu turned to Taifai and said, "Next time, we have to invite him in." Although Li Zongjiu didn't treat Shu as a friend or brother, he couldn't mistreat someone who treated Li Zongjiu sincerely. "Yes, young master. Since you're here, bring me to the Shi family. Since these guys want the things in my hands, I'll give them to them," Li Zongjiu said. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Shu was stunned. First of all, he couldn't believe that Li Zongjiu could be so open-minded. This was indeed a good idea. As long as Li Zongjiu gave them what they wanted, these people wouldn't have any reason to target Li Zongjiu. Although Shu had thought of persuading Li Zongjiu in this way, he was also a member of the Shi family. If he said that, wouldn't Li Zongjiu treat him as a lobbyist? That would be a huge misunderstanding. He couldn't do something like betraying his friends. That's good too. It's good that you can think this way. Since you've decided, I, Shu, will ensure your safety in the Shi family. Shu patted his chest and said, "In the Shi family, if anyone wants to kill you, they'll have to step over my dead body first." Shu said. Logically speaking, Shu had experienced so many life and death struggles. He had the most say in matters of life and death. He was also the one who had the most desire to live. If he could make Shu swear on his life, it was enough to show how much importance he placed on this matter. "That's not necessary. You just need to bring me there." Li Zongjiu smiled and said, "Relax, you're not going to die." Li Zongjiu patted Shu's shoulder and said, then walked towards the street ahead. Shu was stunned at first, then looked at Li Zongjiu's figure. Although Li Zongjiu said it casually, Shu had a bad feeling in his heart. He hadn't known Li Zongjio for a long time, but he more or less knew that Li Zongjio wasn't a person who would compromise so easily. Just as he was thinking about it, he saw that Li Zongjio had already walked far away. Immediately, Shu shouted out loud, "You're going the wrong way this way." Li Zongjio stopped in his tracks. If he turned around and went back, it would be very embarrassing. There was a bun shop nearby, so Li Zongjio went up and bought a few buns. "I'm just buying breakfast." Then, under Shu's lead, Li Zongjio and Shu walked towards the Shi family's courtyard. At this moment, Li Zongjio's every move was being watched. Now that they knew that Li Zongjio was going out, all kinds of information were flying around. In the Shi family, many people were also ready. "I wanted to find him today, but I didn't expect him to take the initiative to walk into the trap." Lu Wenshan and the others sat in the hall, drinking their morning tea. "It seems that this guy knows how powerful we are, and took the initiative to surrender," Yang Hui said with a big belly. There was some breakfast placed beside his table. He was also eating nonstop, smacking his lips. "It's not that simple, we still have to be prepared," Zhou Kong said in a deep voice. "Judging from the fierce means last night, the method of killing people to silence them, there was no fear in it at all. If there was fear, there would be no need to wait for an entire night to hand over the thing. Don't worry. If that guy dares to act recklessly, I'll beat him into a pile of meat paste." In the hall, a man with long hair said. He was wearing a loose white robe, and had a skinny body. If one didn't look carefully, one would think that he was a girl. But his voice was deep, with a hint of flirtatiousness. "Demon staff Nanhe." From his body, there was an instinctive evil aura. It was very strange for such a person to be good at staff techniques. Those who could use this staff well were basically some martial arts geniuses with special talent. "Elders, don't worry. The Shi family will not let any problems happen to our guests in the Shi family," Shi Chuji said proudly, a mere pugilistic boy who thought that his talent could bring about a big change. But in reality, before he grew up, he was just a grasshopper that jumped a little higher. There was nothing to be afraid of. In the real world, there were dangers that could easily kill jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards. It wasn't something that a small grasshopper like him could understand. As the patriarch of one of the 4 big families, he still had this much confidence. "Patriarch, young Master Shu has brought Li Zongjio to the door." Someone from the Shi family came to report. "Since they're here, let them in. It's not like the two of them can't fit in the living room of the Shi family," Shi Chuji said. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."